This guy suddenly starts slaughtering all of his family's cows. The villagers just can't understand why he's doing it. A girl walks up and tells him to stop. This is the same girl who rejected him yesterday, and now people are saying she'd take him back if he had a cash gift for her. She immediately snaps that it's not true. The boy hears all this, then tells the crowd they're too damn curious and should just leave, especially the girl. She turns her back, promising she won't be nice to him ever again. The protagonist doesn't care about any of this. It's only when his parents get home and demand to know what he's doing that the boy finally reacts. They were worried, and to their surprise, the boy gets incredibly emotional just seeing them standing there. He even cries and hugs them both, saying it's so good to see them alive. He then tells his parents there's no time to explain, but they must trust him right now and not get in his way. The serious look in his eyes confuses his parents for a second, but then his father steps up, showing he trusts his son completely. Some old woman from the village tries to tell the mother she needs to stop her husband from supporting their crazy son. The mother just fires back that the only crazy person there is the old woman for saying that. The family was now more united than ever. The protagonist had a plan, but he knew he didn't have time to slaughter and sell all the cows himself. He only has 4 hours until everything starts. So, he shouts out that he'll pay good money to anyone willing to do a job for him. Suddenly, everyone who called him crazy was praising his smart decision to sell the family cows. In no time, he had hired a crew to do the work for him. He called his suppliers and offered to sell all the meat at a massive discount. It didn't take long for a truck to show up and haul the meat away. The protagonist got a bag full of cash, exactly what he needed. His parents begged to at least know what their son was planning. The boy just says he'll tell them everything soon, but for now, they must stay home until he gets back and don't let anyone in. This makes zero sense to them, but they decide to trust him because their son has never disappointed them. The boy stashes the money and repeats his warning. Lock the windows and doors. Don't open them for anyone but family. As he drives to the city, his plan is to buy gunpowder. He has 2 hours until the apocalypse begins. First, the animals will be the first to mutate and start hunting humans, just like we've done to them for centuries. Then, humans will turn into zombies too, and they'll start eating other humans. In a very short time, almost the entire human race will be extinct. The protagonist's greatest trauma is that he survived, but he watched his whole family die. He has no idea how he was reborn after dying years later. But this time, he's going to do everything differently. I'm going to buy fuel, a power generator, food, gunpowder, tools, and medicine are also important. But the first thing is the gunpowder. Entering an old warehouse, the protagonist meets a gangster named Jack and his assistant, Olivia. The boy says he brought 100,000. Jack smirks, thinking he's offering it as an engagement gift for his assistant. But the boy replies he wants it all in gunpowder. Jack says he doesn't deal in illegal stuff. Everything there is within the law, but the protagonist smirks and says maybe he should ask the woman who apparently died there some time ago. This catches Jack off guard. He freezes, then tells the girl to check the stock and prepare the gunpowder. As she walks past the protagonist, he tells her father helped him a lot before, and one day he'll repay that favor. Interesting. Very interesting. William gets home loaded with gunpowder, shouting for his parents, but the one who answers is his brother, Lucas. Lucas says Isabella hasn't arrived yet. The protagonist is shocked. She should have been home already. As he gets ready to go after her, he wonders, did his actions cause a butterfly effect? On the way to the school, which he believes will be pure chaos, he hits an animal with his car. When he looks closer, it's a zombie dog. 1 hour earlier than predicted. The outbreak has already begun. Meanwhile, 1 hour earlier at the school, a group of girls is mocking Isabella, saying her brother slaughtered cows just to give the meat as an engagement gift. Isabella gets annoyed, knocks the girl's phone to the floor, planning for the teacher to see it and say it'll only be returned if her father comes to pick it up. She walks past the girl and coldly tells her to be more careful. What Isabella forgot is that both of them had been assigned to clean after class, and her friend wants to play cow slicing like her brother, but with a box cutter. Her brother arrives at the school, but the place is already in full chaos. Isabella is covered in blood, but not hers. The girl starts vomiting, clearly sick. When Isabella runs to the balcony to call for help, she sees the schoolyard below, and it's hell. One of the students, now looking like a goblin, charges to attack her. But miraculously, or maybe just because the author doesn't want to kill her yet, the zombie trips on nothing and falls flat on its face. But the girl who had been harassing Isabella isn't done. She charges at her like a cat. Her brother appears out of nowhere and dropkicks the zombie in the back of the head. Without wasting a second, he pulls out his cow-cutting knife and finishes the zombie on the spot. Already in the car, driving back to the village, running over zombies along the way, the girl tries to act like it's all fun, saying it feels like a game. Clearly scared, her brother tells her she can stop pretending and just cry if she needs to. Not wanting to look soft, he says this time he'll protect the whole family. That actually makes her happy. Later that night, we see the village where they live. He hands his sister over to their parents and says he's heading out again. He needs to find someone. No matter what happens, they must protect the house. Isabella tells her mother not to worry because her brother's body feels different. He moves across the rooftops looking for someone who, according to him, had a powerful ability in his past life. Elsewhere in the city, a girl is desperately holding a door being rammed by zombies. Meanwhile, two useless guys just stand there watching. Suddenly, the zombies burst through the gate, tumbling like trash onto the ground. But the girl realizes something strange. They weren't swarming her. It was William smashing them all. Startled by the dark look in his eyes, she freezes, and in an instant, he's already by her side, cutting down the zombie trying to bite her. He grabs her face, checking for wounds. Thankfully, she's not hurt. She blushes, and he thinks she's nothing like the version of her he knew in the past. The two idiots who hadn't helped at all start whining that he didn't need to kill the zombies. They're so dumb. They don't even realize those were zombies. William tries to explain. There's no point in calling the police or anything like that. But just then, guess who shows up? Jack, the gunpowder dealer. He tries to rally the others, saying the protagonist is making up fairy tales to get away with something, but the girl steps in, defending William, saying he saved them. William thanks Bea, but says he's going to prove those things really were zombies, and if anyone wants to come with him, they'll find out the truth real quick. Since no one volunteers, William turns to Jack, asking if he wants to go into a dark alley just to check something out. Jack finds it strange how the protagonist knows everything in advance and is prepared for it. Jack admits he's scared because he's a normal person and William is a killer, but he still goes, taking his bodyguards with him. Bea wants to go too because the village leader is missing. The guy with glasses says he'll go as well. He's looking for someone. The other guy says they can use the van. Once there, they find the leader's car and begin searching for him. William spots footprints, blood, and clear signs of people. They discover a cave. He warns them it's dangerous. From here on, he'll go in alone to check. But once again, Jack accuses William of plotting something. That's why he wants to go in alone. The protagonist gets angry, saying Jack is seriously getting on his nerves. And if Jack wants to come inside with him to see if there's a body or something, Jack freezes, sensing the bloodlust in William. Then, suddenly, a zombie girl bursts out, running past the protagonist and charging straight at the group. The guy with glasses runs toward her, shouting her name. Shin. She was the one he was looking for. But just as she's about to bite him, William appears in a flash, saving him and ending her suffering. The guy with glasses falls to his knees, crying, saying William killed her and that he'll pay for it. William knocked him to the ground with a serious face and remained silent. I get that you're hurting, but Ashen was already gone. She turned. I had no choice. I'm trying to keep the rest of us alive. Huang Tao staggered to his feet, his voice cracking with grief and rage. That's easy for you to say. What if I killed your family in front of you? Could you stay this calm then? The words hit William like a slap. His mind flashed back to his past life, to the bodies of his loved ones lying cold and broken, soaked in blood. His breath caught. Then, with a snarl, he grabbed Huang Tao and hoisted him into the air like he weighed nothing. His eyes turned sharp as blades. This life, no one threatens my family and walks away. He raised his blade, and from his side, Jack's voice cut in with a mocking laugh. Well, look at you. Maybe you're not so different from the monsters after all. At that instant, a strong hand slammed into William's wrist, stopping the strike. It threw him to the ground. A familiar voice growled, Snap out of it, dumbass! Standing above him, his face grim but steady, was his big brother, Lucas. Lucas stared at Huang Tao, who was still lost in the agony of losing his wife. He suddenly shouted, You saw what she became! No one wanted this. If you need someone to blame, blame me. Her death is on me too. But right now, you need to pull yourself together. You're a village leader. Damn it. These people still need you. Hango trembled, clenching his fists, then finally gave a slow, broken nod. The tension finally cracked. Just then, a faint cry echoed from the cave. Help! Someone! Help! It was the village chief's voice, but William froze, frowning. Something fell off. The tone was too controlled, too human. One of Jack's thugs rolled his eyes and scoffed. What a bunch of scared babies. I'll go drag him out myself. With that, he strutted into the cave. He didn't make it far. A wet slicing sound cut through the silence. His torso was split clean from his waist, blood spraying everywhere. A grotesque zombie dragged out his upper half, then casually flung it aside like trash. Behind it, dozens, no, hundreds of glowing red eyes lit up the darkness. The horde had awakened. What William saw was far beyond what he had imagined. The number of undead pouring from the cave was absolutely staggering. Even if he could fight his way out, how could he protect both Summer and his brother? Thankfully, the William brothers had trained since childhood under a retired military martial arts master. Their skills were nothing short of elite. Aim for the head. They're sensitive to direct light, William warned. The brothers moved in perfect sync, slashing and dodging, clearing the immediate area within minutes. Meanwhile, Jack had already scrambled behind a tree, too scared to even breathe. But deep within the cave, the same eerie cry for help echoed again. William and Lucas exchanged a glance. You guys head back, William said firmly. It's too dangerous from here on out. You'll only slow us down. Then, without hesitation, the two stepped into the darkness. Not long in, William stopped abruptly. A corpse lay ahead, dried out like a husk, heart completely missing. That same voice called again, whispering unnaturally through the air. Lucas raised his flashlight, sweeping across the cave. Sitting with his back to them was the village chief, silent, still. And then he snapped around. Pale face, empty eyes, and from his chest, tentacles began to unfurl. The creature lunged at them with terrifying speed. William reacted instinctively, slashing his blade toward its head. But the moment the blade struck, he knew something was wrong. It barely flinched. That wasn't a regular zombie. This was a mutant. In the next instant, tentacles whipped out and sent William flying into the cave wall. Lucas's flashlight beam caught the creature's face, and it screeched, recoiling violently from the light. They seized the moment and scrambled out of the cave. Gasping for breath, Lucas turned to his brother, stunned. What the hell was that thing? William exhaled slowly. I think we're looking at a cross-species infection. Some kind of genetic recombination between animals and humans. It's no longer just undead. It's evolved. He nodded toward the dark. And that thing was a second-stage variant, probably once the village chief. William glanced up at the full moon. Good thing tonight's bright. These things fear light. They won't come out easily. Lucas looked at him in disbelief. Since when did you become a biologist? Guess I binged one too many documentaries before the world went to hell. They were just about to head back, planning to return the next day with proper gear to deal with the mutant, when suddenly, a swarm of glowing red eyes burst from the cave. It was a horde of mutated bats. The sky darkened in an instant. The moonlight swallowed by wings. Taking advantage of the chaos, the mutated zombie launched itself forward like a cannonball, smashing Lucas with a brutal strike and sending him flying. One of its tentacles lashed out, shattering the flashlight William held. The creature's intent was clear. It had locked onto Lucas as its target. William gritted his teeth and pulled with all his strength, but it was useless. The monster's power was overwhelming, far beyond what any human could resist. Just as the creature's jaws were about to close around Lucas's hand, William was frozen in helpless horror. Then, out of nowhere, a car came speeding onto the scene. The door slammed open, and behind the wheel was Bea. She aimed without hesitation and rammed the mutated zombie, sending it flying. William didn't miss the opening. He rushed forward and struck the final blow, ending the creature's life for good. When they realized the monster was actually the village chief, Bea was visibly shaken. Lucas exhaled deeply, his voice weary but sincere. If you hadn't shown up when you did, we'd both be dead right now. But before they could catch their breath, William's face turned pale. He'd spotted it deep on Lucas's forearm, a clear bite mark. Lucas gave a faint, tired smile. I'm sorry, little brother. You'll have to take care of the family now. And as for what comes next, I don't need to say it, do I? Those words tore through William like a blade, because deep down, he already knew he would have to be the one to end his brother's suffering. Staring at his infected brother, William was overwhelmed with guilt. He had believed that being reborn would give him the chance to change fate, to protect his family. So why was history repeating itself? Suddenly, his eyes locked onto the corpse of the mutant. He rushed over and yanked the blade out from the creature's skull, then began hacking at its head again and again, relentlessly blood splattering everywhere. Lucas, thinking his brother had snapped from grief, cried out, William, what are you doing? Stop it! Bea also called out to him, trying to pull him back, but William didn't stop because something had just come to him. He remembered that high-level zombies absorb viral energy from the lower ones and condense it into a crystallized core hidden deep within their skulls. Moments later, he found it. A dark, blood-colored crystal nestled in the back of the creature's brain. He turned back to Lucas, his voice steady, eyes burning with hope. You haven't turned yet. There's still time. And with that, he held out the crystal. William spoke with a heavy voice. This is a zombie core formed by concentrated viral matter. It shares the same source as what's in your body. If you take it, there's a chance you could evolve into an immune-enhanced type, but there's also a chance you'll turn into one of those monsters. Lucas barely glanced at it before swallowing it down without hesitation. William hesitated, but deep down he knew this was their only shot. After swallowing it, Lucas smirked. Seriously? You had this the whole time, could have saved me the drama. So when does it kick in? William answered flatly. Within 2 days, Lucas nodded, turning toward the cave. 2 days. If I'm out by then, seal it up. But if I come out with superpowers, you better not get jealous. Watching his brother walk away so casually, William finally felt the weight in his chest lift a little. He believed in him. With a faint smile, he whispered, I'll be waiting. Hidden behind a tree nearby, Lingy had been eavesdropping on the whole conversation. A sinister grin crept across his face. So that's how it is. Fine then. Let me help speed things up. The next morning, as the sun rose, Vanessa barged into her brother's room, wearing some kind of improvised battle armor. Brother, time to get up? Our boy looked at her and asked what the heck she was wearing. It looked like a trash can had grown legs. His proud sister explained that they needed to reinforce the house's defenses, so she spent the entire night making that armor. The cute girl was clearly fishing for a compliment, but her brother just poked her with one finger, making her roll all the way out of the house. Outside, he asked what her plan was. To roll over the zombies and score a strike. Their dad saw his kids and climbed down from the wall he was building. The old man grabbed a barrel of black powder and walked with a huge grin. Where did you get that? His son warned him that this wasn't a toy, but the man just ran off with his toy, shouting that he had something important to do. Our protagonist just prayed the house wouldn't blow up in some random accident. Then William heard his sister rolling on the ground, and their mom was also using the new trash can. He didn't need a DNA test to confirm they were mother and daughter. Mom, I'm hungry. Do we have breakfast? I'm busy. I'm training my secret deadly cleaning technique. Someone was about to ring the doorbell when William opened the door, and to his surprise, it was a good one. The gorgeous girl standing there was Bea, and she had come to ask for a favor. His mom, curious, came to see who was at the door and greeted the girl. Bea turned to him and explained that the village committee had started organizing defenses, and so far things were going well. But she said she had contacted the county police station last night, and since then, nothing. No message, no reply. The protagonist checked his phone. No signal? He thought this was strange. That didn't happen last time. Bea continued, saying, this didn't feel right. If they were isolated, they might miss something crucial, like reinforcements that could be on their way. Bea asked him to go with her to the county to find out what was going on. Our boy stayed silent, clearly worried about her request. Seeing his hesitation, Bea bowed her head and said she knew his brother went through hell yesterday, and now she was asking him to risk himself again. But the girl believed this was important. Finding out the truth was her responsibility, and William was the best fighter. She added that at this moment, William understood those creatures better than anyone. That's when his mom cut in, saying enough with this conversation. But then the old lady said something unexpected. If it weren't for you yesterday, my foolish son might not have come back. Bea lifted her face, surprised. The woman called them both inside. She rummaged through an old wooden shelf without turning around and said, your father and I are your parents. We're not here to cage you. We're here to protect you, not to hold you back. She added something even more touching. Look at you, my son. So grown, strong, handsome, and brave. Then she pulled out a long blade and handed it to him. William was to use this. They left together. Our protagonist didn't say a word, but the women started chatting. You can tell who really runs the world. His mom watched them leave and, talking to herself, said they looked like a beautiful couple. That girl would give her some gorgeous grandkids. Meanwhile, deep inside the cave, Lucas sat still, waiting for his body to react to the zombie core he had just swallowed. Suddenly, he heard the sound of footsteps approaching. Thinking it was his brother, he opened his mouth. William, wait. Don't come any closer yet. He felt something wet trickling past his boots. Frowning, he dipped a finger into the liquid and brought it to his nose. The moment he smelled it, his expression changed. Gasoline before he could react. A spark ignited at the mouth of the cave. A deafening explosion erupted. Flames tore through the tunnel. Meanwhile, William and Bea were on the road, heading toward the county in search of help. Bea sat in the passenger seat, staring nervously out the window, softly humming a tune, completely off key. William glanced sideways and couldn't help but think, wow, she really is tone deaf. Noticing his stare, Bea blushed slightly and muttered, sorry, I hum when I'm nervous. I know I sound terrible, but William wasn't laughing. In fact, he felt a strange warmth. She was clearly scared, yet still forcing herself forward. Yeah, he thought. That's a Bea, I know. With so many unexpected variables this time around, he realized he couldn't rely solely on memories from his past life and her sensitivity to zombies. That was something he had to trust. Without warning, he said, you should come stay at my place. She froze, turning to look at him, cheeks slightly flushed. Why would I do that? She asked softly. William didn't even notice the change in her tone. He was still caught in his thoughts. If I told her about her future powers, she'd never believe me. So instead, he just said plainly, because I need you safe. I can't afford to lose you. Just as Bea, cheeks still flushed, was about to ask what he meant, William suddenly frowned. Up ahead, the road was completely blocked by a massive landslide. They quickly got out of the car to inspect. Looking at the mountain of debris, Bea sighed in frustration. There's no way we're getting to the county like this. William didn't reply right away, but inside he was tense. This road was fine in my last life. Something's changed. Not just the timing, but the entire path. If this route is truly cut off, we're going to have serious problems with future supplies. He finally exhaled. Let's head back to the village. We'll figure something out. Bea nodded silently. On the way back, William's mind raced. They had enough supplies to last for a while, but there was no signal and no way to escape. Everything felt like it was closing in. Suddenly, the car jolted and slid toward the edge of the bridge. William hit the brakes and held the wheel with all his strength. The tires screeched, stopping the car just inches from falling. Both of them jumped out to check what happened. Bea noticed a spike strip on the road. William warned her not to approach. It was clear that it had been placed there on purpose. A mocking voice came from above. They looked up and saw Jack crouched on the bridge railing, spinning a pistol in his hand. William stared at him in silence, while Jack accused him of taking out half his crew the night before. As the leader, he wasn't going to let that slide. He jumped down and began walking toward them. William remained calm, telling him that if he wanted revenge, he should fight zombies, not them. Jack ignored it and kept mocking him, calling him scared. That was the breaking point. He snapped, threatening to kill Jack, while William calmly placed his hand on his blade, daring him to try. Right when the tension reached its peak, Jack pointed the gun and shot Bea. She fell to the ground with blood spreading across her shirt. William froze and shouted Jack's name. Jack laughed, saying this was exactly what he wanted, to make William feel pain. He added that hurting the ones you care about is the best way to break you, mocking William for not having the courage to finish off his bitten brother the night before, claiming he blew up the entire mine himself. The words hit William like a thunderstrike. His eyes turned bloodshot, and with a furious cry, he unsheathed his blade and charged at Jack. Jack smiled wickedly, ready to shoot. But before he could pull the trigger, a dark shape burst from the trees. A zombie wolf, a tier 2, sank its fangs into Jack's arm and tore it off. He collapsed, screaming in agony, while William stopped, stunned by the sudden attack. Back at the village, Isabella sat on a rooftop, legs swinging, as she wondered why Second Bro and Luna weren't back yet. Suddenly, loud banging echoed from the gate. Someone shouted, asking if William was there. Isabella leaned forward and saw Huang Ta and Uncle Neo. She said her brother wasn't home and asked what was going on. Hango pointed toward the distant ridge and told her to look. Isabella grabbed her phone and switched on the flashlight. When the beam hit the hillside, her face went pale. A sea of undead was pouring down the slopes. Countless zombies moving like a black wave straight toward the village. Meanwhile, Jack lay on the ground, blood pooling beneath him. Barely conscious, he muttered through clenched teeth, questioning if this was really how it ended. The zombie wolf turned its bloodshot eyes toward William. His instincts told him this was bad. The creature had locked onto him. With a piercing howl, it lunged. William sidestepped with precision, his blade slicing across its chest mid-charge. Blood sprayed as the wolf hit the ground, howling in pain. William exhaled, staying sharp. It was still dusk, and the creature wasn't at full strength. But once night fell, he knew they wouldn't stand a chance. Then guttural howls erupted from the forest. His heart skipped a beat. This wasn't a patrol group. It was a full-scale horde. His eyes shot to the tree-line where a massive swarm of undead spilled out. The village chief was supposed to be the cause, but he was dead. Then what was it? The bats? Could they be the real source? The thought barely formed when the wolf struck again, claws tearing through the air. William twisted away at the last second, heart pounding. The beast was still this fast, even after that wound. He watched in disbelief as the slash on its chest healed rapidly. Before he could react, the wolf charged once more, jaws wide. Deep inside the cave where Lucas had been buried. The ground trembled. Rubble shifted as a low rumble grew louder. A blast tore through the rocks, and from the smoke, Lucas stepped out. His body glowed with a faint red hue, and a cold, warped grin spread across his face. On the bridge, Bea stood frozen, eyes wide in horror as the zombie wolf clamped its jaw toward William. She whispered, begging it not to happen. At that moment, a red aura burst from William's body. A fiery glow pulsed beneath his skin, power surging through him, raw and unstable. With a feral roar, he drove his fist into the wolf's jaw. The beast reeled from the blow, shrieking in pain as blood poured from its mouth before crashing to the ground. William didn't hesitate, eyes glowing red. He leapt forward, raised his blade high, and brought it down in one clean stroke. The wolf was split in two. When the dust settled, Bea stared at him in disbelief, her voice barely audible as she said his name. William turned to her with a faint smile. I'm here. Then William collapsed to one knee, completely drained. Bea let out a quiet laugh. Relieved he was still standing. She glanced at the mangled remains of the beast and then back at him, calling him insane. Though she admitted it no longer surprised her. Deep down, she had already started to believe he could fix anything. William looked at his hands, feeling the strange power still pulsing under his skin. Wild yet somehow contained. He questioned where it came from, wondering if this was an awakening. But something didn't add up. In his past life, no one awakened without a crystal core, and he had never used one. The thought was cut short as the undead closed in fast. He stood up, expression hardening. This wasn't the time to think. They had to move now. Surrounded by enemies, staying meant death. Noticing Bea's injured leg, he stepped in without hesitation. She couldn't run like that, so he decided to carry her. Despite the pain draining the color from her face, she gave a determined nod. The snarls of the approaching zombies grew louder, cutting through the air like blades. William acted instantly, hoisting Bea onto his back and sprinting toward the village with everything he had. The outline of the village finally came into view, but the dead were closing in, their numbers overwhelming. Even if he fought them, there was no way to keep Luna safe amid the chaos. Just as the horde closed the gap, a thunderous roar erupted in the distance. A vehicle tore through the undead, crushing everything in its path. It was a customized off-road truck, fire blasting from its exhaust as it burned a path through the horde. The driver spun the wheel hard, sweeping the tail of the vehicle wide and torching zombies left and right. The truck skidded to a stop. The window rolled down, revealing William's father, cigarette between his lips and a grin on his face. He shouted over the noise that he had his son's back. From the passenger seat, William waved enthusiastically, ready to light things up. Once everyone climbed in, William's father slammed the gas, speeding toward the village as more undead swarmed behind them. He ordered to fire 3 of the William-style dragon bombs. William quickly obeyed, tossing 3 homemade firebombs out the window. Explosions erupted, flames consuming dozens of zombies, though some kept running even while burning. Still chasing them while on fire, the creatures pushed forward. William's father snorted, saying they would finish this. He tossed a powder barrel out the window and flicked a cigarette into it. The explosion lit up the road, engulfing the horde in a wall of fire. In the back seat, William clapped, impressed by the chaos. At the front, William and Bea exchanged a glance, unsure if they should feel relieved or even more worried. These people might be crazier than the monsters themselves. Suddenly remembering the first aid kit, William reached under the seat and pulled it out. As he opened it to grab bandages, William snatched them from his hand. Hey, you can't just touch a girl's leg like that. Unless there's something going on between you two I should know about. Bea let out a quiet laugh, cheeks flushed. William rolled his eyes and muttered internally that she was always causing trouble. Ignoring her, he turned to his dad. How's everything back at the village? His father kept his focus on the rearview mirror. So far, we're holding. The horde hasn't broken through yet. William looked over at the explosives piled in the back. All that dynamite. You really made that yourself? And you were smoking next to it? His dad laughed. Of course, I used to be the demolition guy in the mines. After the mines shut down, I had nothing left to blow up. Tried experimenting with firecrackers at home, but your mom put an end to that quick. He sighed deeply, like someone mourning a lost passion. Wait a second, William said suddenly. Was that kitchen explosion last year your fault? His dad tensed. No, don't be ridiculous, William squinted. You're shaking. Don't tell your mom, his father muttered. Soon, they reached the village gate. As they got out of the truck, loud shrieks echoed from within the yard. William's father froze. He rushed to the door and tried the handle, locked from the inside. Without waiting, William stepped forward and broke the door open with a knee strike. Inside, the scene was unreal. His mother was holding a zombie by the neck with one hand, calm as ever. She stared at it and said flatly, "Oh, it's you." Auntie Jong from the neighboring village. Been a while. William and his father peeked from behind the broken door, hesitant. Her glare sent a chill down their spines, and they stayed hidden. William stood at the front and called out, "Mom!" She didn't look up, still holding a frying pan in her other hand. You scared me. Just because you're like this now doesn't mean your debt disappears. Then she slammed the frying pan into the zombie's face. And don't think I forgot about the money. You owe me $500 from that last card game. I gave your son $600 for college. When my own kid got in, you gave nothing. And then you went around talking behind our backs. This is what you get. William stared at her, stunned. He leaned toward his dad. When did Mom get this strong? She's always been this way. His father answered, puffing on his cigarette. Back in the day, no one within 10 villages dared mess with her. It took 3 to 5 men just to hold her back. Things calmed down when she married me, though honestly, she kind of forced it. Suddenly, a frying pan flew through the air and smacked him in the back of the head. Liar! You were the one begging to marry me, came her voice from inside. Then she glared at William. And you, busting down the gate like some hero. Wait till I get my hands on you. William took a cautious step back, thinking about sneaking away. Before he could, Bea stepped in and spoke up. Maria, listen. It's not his fault. He was only trying to protect you. As Luna finished speaking, William's mother froze mid-step. She slowly turned to face her, her expression softening instantly. Oh, Luna, you're here too. I was just messing around earlier. Don't take it the wrong way. I'm always easygoing, you know. William stood silently, watching the scene unfold. Her ability to switch personalities was more terrifying than the undead. Suddenly, a loud screech came from the courtyard wall. A zombie had climbed up and let out a wild roar. Before it could leap, something slammed into it, knocking it backward. Wang Tao stood on top of the wall, yelling with urgency. Stop wasting time! They're breaking through. A large group is pushing in from the west. William's focus narrowed. He drew on the power inside him, red energy sparking across his body, then dashed into the fight. Around him, his father hurled explosives. His sister fired from a makeshift cannon, and his mother charged in with a frying pan. For the first time, William felt certain. This time we fight as one. Not a single one is getting through. I'm not alone anymore. With my family beside me, we'll make it through this nightmare. But then something changed. The zombies at the back suddenly started pulling away. William paused in disbelief. Look at that. They're retreating. Are they scared? William Ishwa scowled. That's impossible. Zombies don't fear anything. Then the same undead returned now with ladders, crowbars, even saws. They were organized. William's father stared in shock. Is this a joke? They've got tools now. What are we fighting? A zombie army or a military siege? William's voice dropped low. They're not acting alone. Someone's giving orders. Through the chaos, William spotted a figure on a distant rooftop. His eyes narrowed. It was Jack. The man who should have died in the blast now stood tall again, face twisted, watching them with a cold smirk. As the family compound came under full assault, waves of undead surged in like a flood. William's father clenched his teeth. What the hell is going on? Why are they all coming straight for us? He looked toward Williaming. Where are the explosives? Panic crept into her voice. We're out. That was the last of them. From the side, Huang Tao shouted over the noise. William, they're scaling the sidewall. William turned and saw them climbing. His heart sank. It's a distraction. They're coordinating their attack. Down below, Bea and his parents were surrounded, holding their ground with all they had left. The entire family was caught in a desperate stand. William's eyes narrowed again, the red light flickering around him. Mom, Dad, defend the yard. I'll take care of the rest. Energy exploded through him as he leapt off the wall, diving straight into the swarm. His father watched, dread gripping his chest. He tried to yell, but couldn't stop what happened next. The zombies closed in, piling over William like a collapsing mountain of limbs and teeth. But under that crushing weight, William remained calm. He shut his eyes, drawing out the storm of power within. With both hands tight on his sword, he spoke through clenched teeth. Blood barrier, Earthbreaker force, Blood Azora, go! With a single motion, he slashed his blade outward. A red shockwave blasted from him, tearing through everything nearby. Zombies were ripped apart, tossed like debris. As the gore settled, William stood in the wreckage, breathing heavily. The move triggered something familiar. In his past life, he had seen it once, used by the Supreme Commander of the Dawn Legion, one of the most powerful fighters in existence. But William knew his version wasn't complete. Still, that didn't matter. He didn't need to be flawless or the strongest. He only needed to be strong enough to protect the people he loved. His eyes locked onto the figure watching from above. These zombies mean nothing. The one behind them is the true enemy. If I want to end this, I have to cut off the head. Another wave rushed him, but William grinned. Red eyes glowing bright. You really think this kind of garbage can stop me? As the words left his mouth, a massive roar erupted from behind. A chill passed through him. He turned just in time to see a zombie lunging at Bea. Before it made contact, his mother swung her frying pan, striking it hard and sending it flying. She ran to Luna immediately, voice full of concern. Are you hurt? Did it bite you? Still catching her breath, Luna shook her head. No, I'm all right, Maria. Where's William? He jumped into the crowd a second ago. From nearby, William called out. I saw him. He looked like a superhero, cutting through everything. He'll be okay. But as she finished speaking, the ground shook with a loud boom. She froze slowly. She turned to see the aftermath. In the middle of crushed stone and swirling dust, William lay on the ground, battered and covered in blood, struggling to stand. He shouted with all the strength he had left. Stay back. Don't come any closer, Ron. Standing in front of him was a monstrous zombie bear, towering over everything. Twice the size of a truck. Its body bristled with steel spikes, eyes glowing like embers. Each breath hissed like steam from metal. It wasn't observing. It was stalking. William's body trembled, pain surging through every limb, but he refused to stay down. With fists clenched, he kept his gaze on the beast. This is on me. I'm the one who has to deal with it. I won't let anyone else get hurt. Not this time. His eyes ignited once more as he unleashed every last drop of power he had left. Payaki. A storm of blood-red energy surged around him like wildfire. He stood firm in front of the monstrous bear, teeth clenched. If I have to die today, I'll die protecting my family. From the courtyard, his father, mother, and sister cried out in panic. William, fall back! But William didn't move an inch. The giant zombie bear roared and lunged, its claw swinging down like a guillotine. William dodged to the side just in time. But before the claw could hit, a loud crash echoed, followed by a familiar voice. Well, well, so you can use this kind of power too. And here I thought you were slacking. The dust cleared, revealing William Ming, calmly blocking the bear's claw with one hand. Sorry for the wait, little brother. William's eyes widened in shock and joy. Big bro. William Ming stretched his shoulders with smirk. Took me a bit of time, and the mountains with a twist of his arm, William Ming hurled the giant bear through the air. It flew like a derailed freight train, smashing into a pile of ruins with a deafening boom. William Ming shook off the dust and smirked. Still breathing. Tough hide. This oversized hamster. William Ming turned back calmly and said, I've got this. Go handle what only you can. William smirked, eyes cold as steel. Understood. He slowly turned, locking eyes on Jack, still standing atop the distant rooftop. Memories of his past life flooded back. His family dying in front of him. His own helpless screams in the night. The bitterness, the rage, the endless nightmares. This time, with power in my hands, I'll destroy everything that threatens them. William stepped forward, his voice cold and sharp. Jack, so you're still alive? Jack turned slowly, his once severed arm now replaced with a grotesque wolf-like claw. He let out a low, rasping laugh. You're talking to someone else now. The old Jack is dead. He grinned, eyes wild, fangs exposed. This body is broken free from the limits of humanity. I'm part zombie, part man. Intelligence and control align one. I command the horde. I keep my mind. In this apocalypse, I am king. Below, the zombie horde swarmed toward the building. Jack stood tall, eyes closed, basking in the surge of dark power flooding his body. He smirked. You know, William, I really ought to thank you. I've been thinking, how should I repay you for such a gift? And I finally decided. Shing! He didn't even get a finish to single flash of steel. William's blade came down hard. Jack's head split clean down the middle. Blood sprayed like a geyser. William sheathed his sword with a cold expression. Still the same coward, just with a louder mouth. And you think you're fit to be king? He turned away, eyes scanning the battlefield. Now that Jack's gone, Big Brother should have less pressure on his end. But then a chilling laugh echoed from behind. How was that it? William froze, slowly turning back, only to see Jack's body rising again. The gash in his skull knitting itself back together, flesh pulsing, bone snapping back into place with sickening cracks. Lingy's eyes now glowed a feral red that he grinned, voice deeper, more monstrous. Face it, William. Your blade can't kill me. William's eyes widened. He instantly raised his blade, placing it firmly before his chest that he inherited the zombie wolf's regeneration. I have to end this now. But before he could strike, Jack appeared beside him like a shadow. His voice oozed into William's ear like venom. We're the same, William. This is our era. Join me. The dead will serve us. The living will feed us. Humanity will kneel as livestock beneath our rule. He gestured toward the swarming hordes. I even brought you a little gift. Cleared out those inferior bloodlines around you. How's that for a warm welcome? Down below, the zombie tide had already reached the walls. Inside the courtyard, William's parents stopped. Bing, bing. And the others were struggling to hold the line. From the side, Uncle Neo shouted, William! The west side's collapsing. William's father panted, sweat pouring down his face. Hold a little longer, Xiao and William. They'll finish this soon. But before he could even catch his breath, boom, a massive crash shook the ground. The giant bear's corpse landed beside him, kicking up a cloud of dirt and blood. From behind the wall, William Ming's voice rang out with a hint of mischief. Man, this guy really could take a beating. Dot. Let's use him to patch the hole. Yeah. William's father turned quickly, relieved and tense. Xiaoshu, how's your brother? Is William all right? William Ming looked at the zombies, closing in from every direction. He clenched his jaw. There was no way to break away now. Turning to his father, he said firmly, Don't worry. William has more potential than I ever did. He'll finish this. Meanwhile, William was once again struck by Jack, sent flying, crashing into the earth with a bone-crunching thud. Dust exploded outward. He lay there, blood dripping from his mouth, body battered. Jack stepped down, crouching atop the rubble, with a wicked grin. Tick, disappointing. This is all you've got, William. Still, bend knee now, and I'll forgive you for raising your blade against your king. But before the words had even left his mouth, slash. A crimson flash streaked through the air. William surged forward, his blade cleaving into Jack's chest, sending him flying through 3 stone walls. Dust still swirling. William stood tall, eyes sharp, voice cold. Humans don't walk with beasts, especially not ones that bear their fangs at my family. He marched toward the crumpled figure in the rubble, sword still dripping with blood. And with a voice like judgment, he declared, Jack, there's only one thing left for me to do. Kill you. Lingy's chest wound began sealing up almost instantly. Standing tall, he licked William's blood from his claw, voice cold and menacing. Is that so? What a shame, William. Then I hereby sentence you to death. In a flash, he lunged forward. His claw came down like a falling guillotine, slicing through the air with terrifying force. William barely raised his blade in time. Clang sparks exploded on impact. He's faster, stronger. William's arms trembled from the force. I can't hold this much longer. Blow after blow rained down. Lai was relentless. TSSHG. A searing pain tore through William's arm. A deep gash opened through even his blood barrier. Reacting instantly, he kicked back and landed several paces away. Breathing heavily, he glanced at the wound, eyes narrowing. Even my blood Azora shield can't hold anymore. I'm reaching my limit. Across the battlefield, Jack sneered, licking his claw. Impressive, William. You dodged that. I really thought I'd be admiring your intestines by now. William felt his strength draining, his vision slightly blurring. The blood Azora aura was flickering, dying. But then he looked up, stared straight at the monster before him, and gripped his blade tighter. If I only have one strike left, then let it in with that. Before William could even react, Jack suddenly appeared in front of him. He grinned wickedly, eyes glowing red. Hey, gotcha. Honestly, even I don't know how strong I am at full power. William froze for a second, just long enough. Jack's claw slashed across his chest, deep and brutal. Blood burst from the wound, painting the ground. But in that instant, William reached into his coat. With one final surge of will, he threw a homemade explosive straight at Jack's face. Enjoy this surprise, bastard. Boom! Flames roared to life, engulfing the area in a hellish inferno. From within the blaze, Jack's voice echoed out, cold and mocking. A Molotov? You think that's enough to kill me? As the smoke cleared, Jack stepped out unharmed. But William was gone. He blinked, then muttered. He ran, then he laughed. Harm! Maniacal, unhinged. Huh? Your blood smells like a flare in the dark. You think you can hide from me? His grin vanished. Eyes turned ice cold. Run all you want, William. I'll find you. And when I do, I'll tear you apart piece by piece. Elsewhere, William collapsed inside a dark convenience store. Gasping for breath, he clutched his wound. Sweat, blood, and pain blurred together, but his grip on the blade remained firm. William leaned against the cold shelf, eyes locked on his wounded arm. The bleeding had stopped. Not healed entirely, but enough. He felt a flicker of surprise. Blood Azura can heal, but his relief was short-lived. His energy was nearly gone. Just one move left. One last chance. Outside the gas station, footsteps echoed. Then came Jack's voice, booming and cruel. A gas station? Really, William? Some people die with no taste. You chose your coffin like a peasant, his claw dragged across a rusted van. Sparks flying with every scrape. Metal shrieked in protest. He slowed his steps, voice turning low and deliberate, like a predator explaining the rules of the hunt. Tell me, do you know why wolves hunt even when they're not hungry? Jack walked slowly, voice almost reverent to feel a praise terror. Their desperate hope crushed after every clever trick fails. That moment of pure collapse. That's the finest spice. With a twisted grin, he slammed his foot into a nearby car. Crash. The vehicle flipped like a toy, landing with a deafening metallic screech. He glanced at the ground, following the trail of blood. It led to a barely visible tripwire glistening faintly with gasoline. Above it, a glass Molotov ready to drop at the slightest touch. Lingy scoffed, his smile widening. You thought I'd be stupid enough to follow your little trail? To walk right into your trap like some blind mud? He slowly raised a claw, eyes narrowing. No. The strongest scent of blood is coming from up there. Flash. With a sudden leap, Jack cleaved upward, his claw ripping into the roof. The ceiling shattered, crashing down in a storm of steel and wood. The roof came crashing down. Debris scattered, and amidst the dust, a blood-soaked jacket dropped at Jack's feet. He snatched it up, confused, eyes narrowing. What a jacket! But before he could even react, whoosh! Jot-Jua exploded out from the shadows, right in front of him in one smooth motion. He flung a fistful of powder into Jack's face. Ji held in agony, clutching his burning eyes. Jot-Jua, what the hell did you do? Hua stepped closer, voice calm and cold. That's salt. You couldn't smell it. A slight smirk curled at his lips. Then again, you can't smell anything anymore. Can't see either, can you? Hua stepped forward, voice cold and measured. You inherited the zombie wolf's strength, but also its greatest weakness. A wolf's nose holds over 200 million scent cells, capable of detecting over 2 million different smells. That sensitivity turned Salt into absolute agony. He locked eyes with a writhing Jack. Most people drop their guard once they think they've seen through a trap. You call yourself king, but you're no different. Just a blind dog choking on its own arrogance. Jack roared, eyes wild with rage. Jot-Jua, I'll kill you. I'll tear you apart. Hua raised his blade, calm as ever. You won't get the chance. Blood energy surged through his arm, wrapping his sword in a crimson storm of power. Blood Azura, World Splitter. The blade came down in a flash of red light. Boom! Jack was smashed into the earth. A shockwave ripping through the ground. Smoke filled the air until the crater came into view. Jot-Jua stood at the edge, staring down into the pit. Still alive, he muttered. Damn, you monsters really are hard to kill. Lingy lay crushed in the crater, bloodied and gasping, but still snarling through his teeth. I'm a king. I don't die. But something changed. His eyes widened in shock as he noticed liquid rising around him, thick, oily, and reeking of gasoline. What is this? He shouted, panic replacing fury. Jot-Jua's voice cut through the tension, calm and cold. Those little firebombs, they weren't enough. He stopped to shore the crater, looking up at the sky. So I figured, why not test if a full underground fuel tank can blow a monster like you straight to hell? His tone never rose. There was no anger, no fear, only quiet finality. This gas station is your coffin. Goodbye, Jack. Back at the village, Jot's father stood at the gate, weapons in hand. Suddenly, a thunderous explosion rocked the horizon. He looked up, confused. What in the world? And then, a brilliant fireball bloomed in the distance. A second sun rising over the ruins. Jot's father stood in silence, watching the fiery glow on the horizon. The sun's up, he muttered. Joing shouted excitedly. Everyone turned. The horde of zombies that had been surrounding them all night was retreating. As the tide of death slowly pulled back, the exhausted defenders finally smiled, relieved, alive. Meanwhile, Jot-Jua looked toward the rising sun. He smiled faintly and started walking back home, but a weak voice called out from behind. Leaning against a broken wall was a pale, barely conscious figure. Joe, help me! Her head fell forward as her strength gave out. Joe froze, turned back slowly. Lie, back at home? Joing stood with her arms crossed, glaring at her brother. Bro, are you seriously a pervert? What kind of guy strips a girl in public? Jot-Jua sighed, clearly frustrated. I was just checking if Li Chin had been bitten. You can't just bring someone home because they look okay. Too many groups were wiped out for that exact mistake, he added almost defensively. And I wasn't wearing a shirt either, so technically it was fair. Joa rolled her eyes. That just makes you sound more like a creep. Good thing I stopped you in time. If Icy had seen that, Joa opened his mouth to respond, but before he could, the nearby door creaked open. See how Luna stepped out calmly. She's fine, she said. I checked her, just exhausted, both mentally and physically. She'll wake up soon. She paused, glancing at the two. Why do you both look so weird? Joe coughed, forcing a smile. Nothing. We're just glad you're okay. I see. Joa turned toward her, a hint of warmth in his voice. Thanks for everything. See how Luna lowered her gaze, quietly, replying, I didn't really do anything. You're the ones who did all the hard work. After a short rest, Hang Tao, Uncle Neo, and Luna prepared to leave. They wanted to check the village for any more survivors while it was still daylight, part of their duty as members of the village council. Just before they left, Jojo called out to Luna, seeing the guilt in her eyes. Luna, don't blame yourself. No one can stop a zombie tide in advance. We can't save everyone, but as long as we're alive, there's still hope. Luna turned back, smiling gently. I know. Thank you. From a car, Zhou Ming chuckled. Not bad, little bro. You're finally learning how to talk like a human being. Jojo watched the group drive off, murmuring. This time the ending's finally different. Zhou Ming raised an eyebrow. What are you talking about? I'm at your EQ, but never mind. He sighed, then nudged the ignition. Let's move. We still need to deal with these bodies. The two drove toward the mountains and got to work on the final cleanup. Standing before the burning corpses, Joe spoke quietly. These mutated corpses have to be incinerated. If animals eat them, we might be looking at the next disaster. Zhou Ming clapped the dust off his hands and grinned. Well, looks like we can finally go home and get some real sleep. And Jojo, make sure to take the car through the gas station wash. It reeks. Jojo scratched his head awkwardly. Yep, about that gas station. Then he frowned. Wait a sec. Why me? Zhou Ming slung an arm around his shoulder with a smirk. Because I'm your big bro. Got a problem with that? Jojo narrowed his eyes. You know the rules. Zhou Ming raised an eyebrow. Seriously? You sure you can still beat me now? Jojo scoffed. Please, I've never lost a ghost tag. They quickly set it up. Zhou Ming was the ghost hunter. Joa played the ghost. The rules were simple. The hunter counts for 10 seconds while the ghost runs. If caught within 3 minutes, the hunter wins and the ghost just run like hell. As Jojo's power flared and he sprinted off, Zhou Ming chuckled behind him. Really pulling that trick? You do remember I know it too, right? Before Jojo could even react, Zhou Ming was already right behind him. He lunged to grab him, but Jojo stopped on a dime, twisted his body, and dodged to the side like a shadow. The two dashed through the forest, leaping over roots, weaving between trees, locked in a relentless game of tag. Suddenly, Joja leapt high, aiming for a tree branch overhead. Zhou Ming blinked in surprise, then smirked, going airborne. Nice try. Without warning, he charged straight toward the tree just as Zhou Jie reached for the branch. Crack! The tree toppled with a thunderous crash. Startled, Zhou Jie adjusted midair and landed safely on the ground. Behind him, Zhou Ming was still grinning, blade in hand, fresh from felling the tree. Thought you'd escape up there. Not a chance. Zhou had barely landed when he felt something massive coming from behind. He spun around, only to see Zhou Ming hurling the whole tree trunk at him. Zhou crossed his arms, bracing himself, and blocked it with full force. The brothers locked in place, one pushing, one resisting, energy crackling between them. Zhou Ming laughed, his voice full of challenge. Running again, little bro. Zhou Jie didn't answer his brother's teasing. He was too focused on holding back the crashing tree trunk, silently marveling at the raw force behind it. Realizing there was no way to push back head-on, he let the momentum carry him backward to absorb the impact. Moments later, the log smashed into the cliff with a thunderous crash, kicking up a cloud of dust and splinters. Zhou Ming, standing amid the mess, scratched his head awkwardly. Did I go too hard? He shouted. Zhou, you get down there, but got no reply. As the dust cleared, he saw no one. Bonk. A pebble hit the top of his head. Zhou's voice floated down from above. Time's up. Ghost wins this round. Zhou Ming looked up at the cliff and called out. When did you get up there, you sneaky brat? Jojo had jumped down lightly, grinning. When I leaned back against the cliff to absorb the impact, I figured out a lot about how our powers work. Zhou Ming nodded. I got mine from absorbing a zombie core. You too, right? Joa rolled his shoulders and replied casually. Something like that. Though in his mind, he added, technically, it was in my previous life, then aloud. But I think my ability is a bit different. I can tap into other people's powers. Zhou Ming blinked in surprise. You mean you can use my powers like copy them? Not just coincidence? Joja nodded. Something like that. Your ability Blood Bastion, right? It boosts physical strength, speed, and defense. Plus, that crimson aura around you can block most physical attacks. Based on our little scuffle, I think I can replicate about 70% of it. Zhou Ming raised an eyebrow. 70%, and I still lost. Damn, that's not all. Zhou added, I think I can assess your abilities in a pretty detailed way. Zhou Ming blinked. Hold on. Are we talking RPG character stats now? Like you got a personal interface or something? Not exactly, Joja said, flexing his fingers. It's more of an instinct, like I can feel the numbers behind a person's strength. If the average adult stat is 20, your power and agilities would be around 90. Your endurance maybe 95. As for intelligence, Zhou Ming interrupted, grinning. Don't tell me this thing makes me smarter too. Joja smirked. More like 0. Honestly, watching you wrestle with a tree stump was kinda painful. Zhou Ming threw an arm around his shoulder with a mock snarl. Careful, kid. My 0 IQ might still knock your teeth out. Then he suddenly remembered something. Oh, right. The zombie bear's core crystal. I stashed in your drawer. Might come in handy later. Unaware of the lurking danger, the brothers' conversation was completely overheard by a hidden figure behind the trees. Late at night, while Zhou Jie was sound asleep, a shadowy figure crept silently into his room. Zhou Ming found the crystal core in the drawer, his eyes lighting up with excitement as he chuckled. Finally got my hands on a superpower. The next morning, Zhou's mom, planning stock up on supplies, told Zhou to go plow the field. Under the blazing sun, Zhou was sweating bullets as he toiled away. Grumbling inwardly, he thought, seriously, big bro's just chilling, and I'm stuck doing all the grunt work. Mom's favoritism is real. Helpless, Jojo quietly activated his cheat skill, unleashing his power to continue plowing faster. Not far away, Lian was hiding in a corner, dressed in a crisp white shirt, nervously holding a cup of water. After a brief internal struggle, she took a deep breath and finally stepped out. With a big smile plastered on her face, she called out sweetly, Joja, there you are. I've been looking all over for you. Joe was busy scrubbing off the zombie blood splattered across the wall. Hearing footsteps behind him, he glanced over his shoulder. Seeing who it was, he asked calmly, Lian, are you feeling better? Li Qian stood sweetly to the side, flashing a charming smile as she replied, I'm much better now. Thank you, Jojua. You saved my life. Joa responded with indifference. I was just keeping a promise. No need to thank me. Unbothered by his coldness, Li Qian casually unscrewed her water bottle, pouring herself a cup as she smiled and said, regardless, it's still a debt of gratitude. She hesitated for a moment, then added softly, so, could you maybe help me out a bit more in the future? Despite her eager tone, Joa answered firmly, no. Lai looked stunned, her voice trembling slightly. But why? Without turning around, Joa said coolly, I already told you this favor was repaying the kindness your father once showed my family. Now we're even. Joa spoke calmly but firmly. I have neither the responsibility nor the obligation to keep helping you. Hearing this, Lian lowered her head, her voice barely a whisper. I understand. Finishing the last bit of cleaning, Joa stood silently in front of the now spotless wall. Feeling the energy stirring inside him, he muttered to himself, looks like this blood butcher power isn't exactly fit for farming yet. Got to train more and improve my control. Just then, there was a rapid knock at the front door. Joja quickly opened it, frowning slightly as he asked, what's going on? Inside, Bea and the others had gone searching for survivors, sat quietly on the sofa, heads hanging low. Jojo looked at them, his expression darkening. There's no one left alive in the village. Bea bit her lip, sadness flashing in her eyes. Sorry, but before she could finish, Joja interrupted firmly. No, this isn't your fault. You can't stop a corpse tide just by being prepared. The fact that you risked your lives to search the entire village, you've already done more than enough. After a long silence, Uncle Neo finally spoke up. So, what do we do next? Joe replied calmly. Simple. Take a shower, get some rest, then we'll have dinner together. His gaze was steady as he added, no matter what, we're still alive. After cleaning up, Bea came out wearing Isabella's spare clothes. She tugged awkwardly at the outfit and muttered, these clothes feel a bit tight. Do I look weird? Just then, Joe's mom called from the kitchen. Luna, come quick. Dinner's ready. Bea hurriedly answered, come, Auntie? Thank you. At the dining table, Joe's dad and the others were chatting and laughing warmly. Seeing Bea approach, Joe's mom smiled meaningfully and said, Luna, come sit next to Joe. Bea nodded sweetly. Okay. Off to the side, Olivia watched the lively, close-knit scene, her smile growing stiff as an uncomfortable look crossed her face. Once everyone had taken their seats, Joe's dad raised his glass and said solemnly, all right, everyone's here. He looked around the table and continued, you all know the situation. We're the only survivors left in Chinchan village. We have no idea what's going on outside, and communication is still down. After a brief pause, he spoke with renewed strength. But we made it. We survived the corpse tide. Every single one of us, holding his glass high, he smiled and said, from now on, we're family. We'll support each other, fight together, not just to survive, but to truly live. Cheers! Just as everyone was about to raise their glasses, Isabella's drink slipped from his hand, crashing to the floor. Lucas immediately noticed and asked anxiously, Isabella, what's wrong? Isabella's eyes had turned bloodshot, sweat pouring down his face as he let out strange guttural sounds. William quickly activated his power, keeping a sharp eye on the clearly unstable Isabella. Before he could figure out what was wrong, Isabella suddenly lunged at him with a twisted, feral expression. She sank her teeth hard into William's arm. William remained calm, not a trace of panic on his face. Nearby, William's father, mom, and the others shouted anxiously, trying to snap Isabella back to her senses. After a tense moment, the red haze in Isabella's eyes began to fade. William asked softly, you back with us? Isabella blinked and let out a confused. She slowly looked around, meeting the uneasy stares from everyone. Her face flushed deep red, overwhelmed with embarrassment as the full weight of her social death moment hit her hard. Noticing Isabella's awkward expression, William sighed inwardly, then gave her a firm punch to the stomach without hesitation. Slinging her over his shoulder, he called back to the others, "I'm taking her outside for some fresh air. You guys keep eating. No need to worry about us." Seeing Isabella vomiting heavily over William's shoulder, everyone nodded, buying his story without question. Outside, Isabella squatted down, clutching her head in utter embarrassment, mumbling, "I've officially humiliated myself beyond repair." Standing behind her, William scolded harshly, "You actually dared to eat a crystal core? You got lucky this time, but do you think you'll always be this lucky?" Hearing his reprimand, Isabella quickly apologized, her voice small. "I'm sorry. I just really wanted powers, too." William looked at her helplessly, thinking to himself, "Good thing I sensed her awakening energy early. Otherwise, she would have scared the hell out of me." Letting out a long sigh, he reached out to ruffle her hair and said gently, "All right, I'll teach you how to control your powers properly. Close your eyes. Imagine your ability like a stream of energy flowing through every part of your body." William guided her patiently. "Your ability is now a part of you, an instinct as natural as breathing." Smiling slightly, he added, "Now use this new power to sense the world. Tell me, what do you see?" Closing her eyes, Isabella followed his instructions. Slowly tuning into the changes around her, she whispered, "I see life." Opening her eyes, a soft glow flickered within them. "I see life flowing everywhere." Feeling a surge of realization, she said excitedly, "It feels like I can control that flow." Carefully, she directed her life energy into the ground beneath her. Instantly, the potatoes buried in the soil sprouted tender shoots. In mere moments, they grew into fully mature plants, staring at the thriving plants. Isabella exclaimed in disbelief, "Did I just make them grow faster?" From the side, William chuckled and replied, "Looks like you did." "I'll see." Seeing William using the same power to speed up the potato growth, Isabella's eyes widened even more. "You have the same ability too." William didn't answer her right away. She clutched her head in despair, wailing, "I was dreaming of blasting cosmic rays, summoning storms, maybe even transforming into a magical girl, and now I'm stuck farming. This is so unfair." William gave her a helpless look and muttered, "What kind of nonsense fills your head all day?" Deep down, though, William couldn't shake off a nagging thought. The chances of awakening powers from eating a crystal core are insanely low. Yet both his big brother and Enzi awakened. It couldn't just be luck. Somehow, he felt it was connected to his own abilities. The next morning, a rooster crowing loudly in the yard met a quick fate as William grabbed it by the neck. Annoyed, he grumbled, "You're way too noisy." Turning to Uncle Neo behind him, he asked, "Uncle Neo, where do you get this rooster so early in the morning?" Uncle Neo chuckled, lifting a hen in his hand. "Got a hen ad too. They're from my own flock. Was planning to raise them for eggs and chicks." Uncle Neo explained, "A few years back, the village's poultry farm was short on workers, so they gave me a few birds as thanks. I never ate them, just kept raising them." Hearing this, William recalled that the poultry farm wasn't too far from their home. After a quick discussion, the group decided to head over and check it out. They figured they could catch some chickens to raise, and maybe gather any eggs that could still hatch. On the way there, Hang Tao glanced nervously at some corpses lying nearby and asked, "They're not going to suddenly turn into zombies, right?" Leaning closer to inspect, he frowned and added, "But looking at them, it kind of seems like they were stabbed with sharp weapons." William, walking ahead, replied casually, "Relax. Zombies don't come out during the day. Just don't go poking around in dark basement and you'll be fine." Reassured, they cautiously made their way into the factory building. Still uneasy, Huang Tao muttered behind them, "Wonder what the world's like out there now. Hope it's not wiped out like our village." Uncle Neo quickly chimed in, full of conviction, "No way. We humans have high-tech weapons. I bet it won't be long before someone comes to rescue us." Hearing their conversation, William spoke quietly, "It's best not to get your hopes up." His gaze darkened slightly as he continued, "The real threat isn't the zombies themselves. It's the virus. The devastation it brings is far beyond anything people imagined. Right now, the only ones we can truly rely on are ourselves." Uncle Neo and Hang Tao both fell silent, their faces clouded with worry after hearing William's grim words. A few moments later, Uncle Neo rummaged through a cabinet and found a stash of eggs. Grinning, he said, "If we manage the temperature and humidity right, we can hatch these manually." Wang Tao scratched his head and muttered in confusion, "But isn't it weird? Where are all the birds? Only eggs are left." William and Uncle Neo exchanged puzzled looks. After all, even if the poultry had died, there should at least be some remains. Just as the confusion deepened, a loud, harsh honk echoed from outside the door. Instantly alert, William turned to look, and standing at the entrance with a huge white goose. The massive goose flapped its wings, almost as if it was greeting them. Hango's face lit up with excitement. "Lucky day, a live one." He immediately called over to William for a sack. After all, back when he worked at the poultry farm, he was an expert at catching birds with a sack. Grabbing the bag from William, Huang Tao confidently strode toward the goose. With a few quick and practiced moves, he wrangled the goose into the bag with ease. Just as he was about to turn and boast about his flawless catch, the once docile goose suddenly mutated, its beak widening into a gaping, bloodthirsty "ee." It lunged straight at Huang Tao's head with terrifying speed. In the blink of an eye, William activated his powers and dashed to Hang Tao's side, landing a powerful strike that sent the mutant goose flying across the room. Hang Tao stood there frozen and bewildered, still struggling to comprehend what had just happened. William shouted urgently, "Something's wrong! Fall back!" The group immediately bolted out of the factory. But just as they reached outside, William heard strange noises. He quickly threw out an arm to stop Hango and Uncle Neo, his eyes scanning their surroundings wearily. Within seconds, dozens of mutant geese came charging at them from all directions. These mutated geese were far faster than before, almost unnaturally quick. In the blink of an eye, the monsters were nearly on top of them. Out of the corner of his eye, William spotted a narrow alleyway. Without hesitation, he yelled this way and led Huang Tao and Uncle Neo toward it. However, Hang Tao and Uncle Yo were just ordinary folks. It didn't take long before their stamina gave out, and their pace slowed down drastically. William quickly realized the situation too. Hango and Uncle Yo were running out of steam. Glancing over his shoulder, he saw the mutant geese closing in fast. Relentless. With no other choice, William decided to activate a different ability. Growth, a power he had copied from Isabella. Focusing his will, he channeled the flowing life energy within him. In an instant, thick vines erupted and spread wildly across the narrow alleyway, creating a living barrier that stopped the pursuing mutant geese in their tracks. William turned back, just about to urge Hang Tao and Uncle Neo to run, when he spotted an even bigger group of mutant geese blocking the alley ahead. Trapped from both sides, William made a split-second decision and led them into a nearby abandoned dormitory building. Once inside, Hang Tao and Uncle Neo collapsed against the walls, gasping for air, their faces pale and drenched in sweat. Uncle Neo looked down at the courtyard, now swarming with mutant geese, and said heavily, "Looks like we're trapped. William, you might still have a chance, but me and Xiao Huang were probably done for." Hearing this, William's expression hardened. "It was my mistake that got us into this mess. I swear I'll get everyone out alive. I promise." Deep inside, though, William was frantically weighing their options. If he pushed his blood butcher ability to the limit and carried 2 grown men, could he outrun the mutant geese? But if he ran out of strength midway, they'd really be doomed. Just as William braced himself for a desperate charge, Hang Tao suddenly shouted, "Wait, there's a computer here and the power's still on." William turned to him, puzzled. Huang Tao, hands flying over the keyboard, said urgently, "Good news! The local network's still up. I might have a way." At that moment, loud, violent thuds shook the door. William pressed his weight against it, shouting anxiously, "Wang! Whatever you're doing, hurry! This door won't hold much longer." Hang Tao kept typing furiously and yelled back, "Give me 5 minutes." 3 minutes? Clenching his teeth, he growled, 3 minutes! I'll handle these damn things." Hearing Hang Tao's desperate countdown, William realized there was no way that flimsy door would last 3 minutes. If they were going to survive, he had to take the fight to them. Without hesitation, he channeled his blood butcher power and slammed his fist into the door. With a deafening crash, the iron door shot forward like a battering ram, instantly smashing the nearby mutant geese into unrecognizable pulp. William strode out of the room, still gripping the broken door knob in his hand. Another wave of mutant geese charged at him, screeching ferociously, narrowing his eyes. William raised the iron door in front of him like a shield, absorbing their brutal assault. In a flash, he gathered his energy into his left fist and punched the door with full force. The impact generated a massive shockwave, blasting through the corridor and reducing the charging geese to a bloody mess. As the hallway fell silent, William let out a breath of relief, thinking that should buy us a little more time. In the next instant, William noticed something horrifying. The shattered flesh of the mutant geese began writhing and fusing together. Inside the room, Uncle Neo shouted anxiously, "A hango, Xiao Huang! Are you done yet?" William was fighting like hell out there. "You need to hurry." Huang Tao, frantically working the keyboard, yelled back. "Almost there. Just one more step." He silently prayed. "Hang in there, William." All he needed was for the final file to finish downloading. Outside, William stared wide-eyed at the monstrosity forming before him. It was a massive, grotesque beast. A hulking monster made entirely of fused, mutated goose flesh. The blood-soaked abomination opened its gaping, emitting a spine-chilling roar. Then, with terrifying force, it slammed into the iron door. William was holding up, feeling the overwhelming impact through the door. William's heart sank. This isn't good. Blood Butcher's shield can't hold out much longer. In the next second, he was violently hurled backward by the sheer force, crashing hard onto the ground. William coughed up a mouthful of blood, his strength rapidly draining away. As William struggled to get up, he suddenly saw Uncle Neo standing in front of him, gripping a long stick tightly, facing down the grotesque flesh monster alone. With a look of grim determination, Uncle Neo said firmly, "William, take Xiao Huang and run. I'll hold off," wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth. William opened his mouth to protest. But Uncle Neo turned back sharply, shouting, "Don't hesitate! If we waste any more time, we're all dead." Before Uncle Neo could say another word, William had already pushed himself up, moved to his side, and pulled him behind. Speaking quietly but resolutely, he said, I promise to get everyone home. I'm not leaving a single one behind. As his words fell, William's eyes began to glow. One eye burning with the crimson of Blood Butcher, the other shining with the emerald hue of Life Force. Calmly, he faced the charging flesh monster once again, merging the two powers into his right hand. Feeling the overwhelming force of life and destruction intertwining within him, William knew with absolute certainty. This time he would win. In the next heartbeat, William hurled himself into a head-on clash with the flesh monster. The fusion of his twin abilities unleashed a surge of strength, unlike anything he had ever felt before. With a single devastating blow, he shattered the grotesque creature into pieces. As the monstrous remains collapsed, the intertwined powers within William's body slowly began to fade. In their place came an overwhelming wave of exhaustion. His body refused to respond. He couldn't even lift a single finger. Just as William thought he could finally catch his breath, a loud, piercing honk echoed from the end of the corridor. He watched in horror as a new swarm of mutant geese charged straight toward them. Shocked and desperate, William struggled against his limp body, willing himself to move to fight once more. Just as disaster loomed, the sound of music suddenly blared from the loudspeakers outside. The mutant geese, already lunging at William, froze mid-attack upon hearing the music. After a moment's hesitation, they abruptly turned and stampeded away from the building. At that moment, Hang Tao rushed out of the room, shouting anxiously, Uncle Yo, William, are you guys okay? Uncle still baffled asked. Those geese just left. And what's up with the broadcast? Xiao Huang, what did you do? Hearing this, Huang Tao's face lit up with relief. It worked. I hacked into the facility's broadcast system and played defeating music. He quickly explained, back when this place was operational, they played that song during feeding time. The bird were trained to rush to the feed area whenever they heard it. Good thing it worked, otherwise we'd be toast. I swear I'm never coming back to this cursed place again. With that, William and the others loaded up into their car and headed home. Sitting in the back, Uncle Neo carefully cradled a basket of eggs. Inside with relief. At least these eggs survived. From the driver's seat, Huang Tao chuckled and asked, Uncle Neo, when did you sneak all those eggs into the car? Uncle Neo smiled and said, while you were busy catching the goose, I sneaked a few eggs into my pocket. Not a lot, though. Hang Tao, still a little uneasy, asked, You sure those eggs won't hatch into mutant birds? Uncle Neo replied confidently, Don't worry. These eggs are over a week old. Back then, the infection hadn't started yet. They're safe. Sitting quietly in the back of the truck, William stared down at his palm, his mind replaying the overwhelming power he felt when his two abilities merged. After returning home, the group held a meeting and finalized new assignments. William's father, Lucas, and Huang Tao would form the security team responsible for patrolling the area and building defense structures. Isabella and Uncle Neo would handle farming operations, raising crops and livestock, especially since Isabella's powers could dramatically boost agricultural growth. William's mom and Olivia would take charge of resource management, handling inventory, distribution, and future planning. Lastly, William and Bea would form the exploration team, tasked with scavenging supplies and scouting the surroundings. With everyone's roles assigned, William returned to his room and began preparing for their next expedition. This time, he vowed to be fully prepared. There would be no repeat of the mistakes they faced at the poultry farm. As William packed his gear, a soft voice suddenly called out behind him. Before he could turn around, Olivia tugged gently at the hem of his shirt. She pressed her forehead against his back, whispering in a trembling voice, William, take me with you. William turned to her with a puzzled look. Olivia's eyes were filled with fear and desperation as she stammered, I'm scared. Scared? Williaming? No, I just want to stay with you. She leaned in closer, her voice lowering. I know a place nearby that's safe, full of supplies. If it's just the two of us, we could survive. We could make it until rescue comes. Her words turned pleading, almost frantic. I'll do whatever you want, anything. Just forget about the others. But when she finally looked up, she froze. William was staring at her with a cold, emotionless gaze that left her completely speechless. Without a word, William picked up his bag and headed for the door. As he passed, his voice rang out, sharp and cutting. You want me to abandon my family? Say that again and I'll throw you out myself. Let you fend for your own miserable life. And don't forget, he paused, his voice turning even colder. You were the one who betrayed me first. Hearing William's harsh words, Olivia stood frozen, utterly stunned, and at a complete loss. As William stepped out of the room, he spotted Bea waiting quietly outside. Before he could say anything, Bea spoke up softly. Are we heading out? Together, they made their way to a secluded fish farm tucked away from the main roads. Bea glanced around the desolate surroundings and frowned. This place is so remote. No way any fishing tourists would ever come here. Who even built this? William replied casually. Jack did. I stumbled upon it by accident. Hearing that name, Bea hesitated for a moment, then asked quietly, I've always wondered, why does Jack hate you so much? William chuckled lightly and said, It goes back to our school days. Jack used to throw his family's wealth around, acting like he was above everyone else. Everyone gave way to him except me. I challenged him at everything and beat him every time. He paused, then added, Later, when I got close to Olivia, he butted in, forcibly taking her away, and he never missed a chance to rub it in my face. Bea frowned and murmured, "But he didn't even like Olivia, did he? I heard he used to humiliate her in front of everyone." William shrugged nonchalantly and replied, "Jack didn't care about her. He just wanted to hurt me. As for Olivia, she made her choice. It's none of my concern anymore." Bea hesitated for a moment before asking, "But wasn't there some kind of engagement between you two?" William sighed and replied helplessly, "That was all arranged by the adults." A strange feeling stirred inside Bea. She turned a glance at the nearby lake. On the surface, the water was eerily calm. Yet somehow, an inexplicable sense of unease crept over her. A short while later, William and Bea discovered a hidden underground facility. Standing before a massive walk-in freezer, Bea exclaimed, "Whoa! There's actually a nice storage here, but seriously, isn't this door a bit over the top?" "William, how do you even know about this place?" William answered casually. "Heard about it once from Jack. Just figure I'd take a chance." Meanwhile, deep down he was thinking. In his previous life, he had stumbled upon this spot after the corpse tide hit and survived for a long time using the supplies hidden here. Back then, the power was already out. But now the electricity was still running. William's eyes narrowed slightly, a quiet thought flickering through his mind. Maybe because I stopped the first wave of the corpse tide. The future's already starting to change. Or perhaps there were still survivors hiding here. Suddenly, a sharp scream echoed from deeper inside the ice storage. Bea's voice startled. William shouted, "What happened?" Bea had collapsed onto the floor, trying to steady her voice as she called back, "I am fine. I just got spooked a little." Pointing ahead with a trembling hand, she muttered, "That fish head, it's way too creepy. Some kind of weird deep-sea creature." Without warning the fish heads, I shifted slightly, glowing with a sinister crimson light. Before Bea could even react, William rushed up behind her, slamming his palm down hard onto the grotesque fish head. William's pupils contracted sharply as he realized, this is a mutant fish-type zombie. To his shock, the creature's grotesque head was completely unharmed by his earlier strike. Slowly, it opened its massive jaws and unleashed a powerful jet of water, slamming William against the ice-cold wall before he could react. Gritting his teeth against the pain, he assessed the force of the impact and quickly realized this thing had the strength of a second-tier zombie. Seeing William hurt, Bea immediately rushed forward, shielding him with her body, her voice trembling. "William, are you okay?" Forcing himself upright, William shouted urgently, "Run! We can't fight it head-on." But no sooner had the words left his mouth than he noticed. The massive freezer door was sealing shut on its own. William's heart sank. There was no time to worry about the door. First, they had to find a way to defeat the mutant fish monster. Without a second thought, William tightened his grip on the long blade and charged straight at the mutant fish monster. He swung down with full force, slashing at its armored body. But the creature's thick armor-like scales were impossibly tough. His blade barely left a scratch. Reacting swiftly, William pulled back, putting distance between them. Regaining his stance, he channeled his power once more, his energy surging. With renewed determination, William launched another assault. This time, searching carefully for a weak spot between the armored scales. It was the only chance to kill it. Then he spotted it. The fish monster's gills were unprotected, free of scales. Adjusting his movement mid-sprint, William circled behind the creature, thrusting his long blade straight toward the vulnerable gill area. But just as the blade was about to strike, countless slimy tendrils suddenly erupted from the gills, wrapping tightly around the weapon and trapping it in an instant. The sudden eruption of tendrils left William momentarily stunned. These grotesque appendages weren't part of the fish monster itself. They were parasitic mutant worms hiding inside the creature, springing forth only to defend their host in times of danger. Taking advantage of William's hesitation, the fish monster lashed out with its tail, smashing him hard into the scattered debris across the floor, dazed and gasping for breath. William slumped helplessly among the rubble. The fish monster loomed closer, its jaws parting as a powerful stream of water began to build inside its mouth, ready to end him. In a desperate move, William grabbed a loose power cable nearby and jammed it straight into the creature's gaping maw. A surge of electricity exploded outward, stunning the beast instantly. Without wasting a second, William pushed himself up and struck the final blow, slaying the mutant fish monster for good. Yet even with the immediate threat eliminated, William's heart grew heavier, not lighter. He knew this world had changed after his rebirth, deviating from the course of his previous life. But all those changes had been accidental, unpredictable. The appearance of this second-tier mutant fish hidden deliberately inside the ice storage. This was no accident. Someone was pulling the strings behind the scenes. Just then, Bea's anxious voice broke the silence. "William, are you okay?" William turned and replied calmly, "I'm fine, but this place isn't safe. We need to get out of here fast." However, no matter how hard Bea twisted the door handle, the heavy freezer door remained firmly shut, completely unmoving. Confused, Bea cried out, "What's going on? The door won't open." William's expression darkened as he muttered grimly, "Someone locked it from the outside." Without hesitation, he drew upon his twin abilities, fusing the destructive force of Blood Butcher with the vitality of life power into his right hand. He then struck the door with all his might. A deafening crash echoed through the chamber, shaking the walls. As the dust settled, the heavy door stood completely intact. Not even a single crack appeared. William's brows furrowed tightly. He hadn't expected the freezer door to be this tough. It was practically built like a bank vault. Worse yet, being trapped underground meant the door was ironically their only possible exit. And now it was their biggest weakness. William gasped for breath, gritting his teeth. That's the strongest power I've got right now. He stared at the door and added bitterly. And it's still not enough. I need to catch my breath. Bea quickly stepped forward to comfort him. You rest for now. I'll check the ice storage again. Maybe there's another way out. After a while, Bea returned, head hanging low in disappointment. Sitting down beside him, she said quietly, I checked everywhere. There's no other exit. William wasn't surprised by her words, but he knew full well the temperature here was around 18 degrees C at best. Even if they survived the cold, they'd eventually suffocate from the lack of oxygen. He realized they couldn't afford to waste another second. Determined, William pushed himself to his feet, preparing to unleash his fused powers for another desperate strike. Just then, Bea hesitantly pulled out a zombie crystal core, saying, If I consume this, I could wake powers too, just like you. William's eyes widened in shock at the sight of the crystal. Without thinking, he grabbed her hand and shouted angrily, Do you even understand what you're suggesting? It's insanely risky. But before he could say more, Bea cut him off. Her voice low but firm. But you can't keep pushing yourself. Your powers can't be used endlessly, and time is running out for both of us. Staring at William, Bea spoke quietly but firmly. William, you know it too. If we keep going like this, we're both going to die. So let's take one final gamble. Bet that I can survive this, and that my awakened power can help us escape. Hearing her words, William's heart trembled slightly. He couldn't help but remember in his previous life, Bea's ability was perception. But now, with all the changes his rebirth had caused, would her power still be the same? After a long moment of silence, William finally let go of her hand, forcing a smile. He asked softly, Are you ready? He knew it clearly. Just as Bea said, relying on his strength alone might not be enough, and this girl had already shown such bravery. Or did he have to hesitate? Bea looked down at the crystal core in her hand and whispered, In the past, I would have been terrified. But now, with you by my side, I believe I can do it. Without further hesitation, she swallowed the zombie crystal core. Deep in the nearby forest, William's father and Lucas were frantically calling out for William and Bea. However, since William hadn't told anyone exactly where he and Bea had gone, they were searching blindly, with no idea which direction to follow. As nightfall approached, a heavy darkness began to shroud the forest, and the anxiety etched on William's father and Lucas's faces grew even deeper. Just then, a deafening zombie roar echoed from deep within the forest. William's father paused, exclaiming, Zombies? Aren't they supposed to only come out at night? William Ming, standing beside him, frowned and said grimly, Something's wrong. As they hesitated, another chilling scream rang out from the distance. William Ming's heart skipped a beat and his face darkened. Crap! That was Hang Ta's voice, hidden behind a large tree nearby. A shadowy figure quietly observed their every move. Back inside the ice storage, a faint groan jolted William wake. He turned to see Bea, her body steaming with heat, her face twisted in pain. Alarmed, William rushed over and asked urgently, What's happening? Why are you burning up? Bea, trembling violently, tried to tear off parts of her clothes. Gasping harshly, I don't know. It feels like my whole body's on fire. It hurts. It's so hot. Without hesitation, William grabbed some ice from the storage and pressed it against her, trying desperately to cool her down and keep her from losing control. After a few tense minutes, Bea was left wearing only her tight underclothes, the intense heat radiating from her body finally starting to subside. William leaned closer and asked softly, Feeling better? Bea nodded lightly, but then spoke in a strange tone. William, I think I'm seeing zombies, a lot of them. Everywhere. William gave a helpless smile and reassured her. Don't panic. That's your awakened ability at work. But deep down, he realized with certainty. Bea had still awakened the perception ability, which meant brute forcing their way out would be nearly impossible. Then Bea added hesitantly, I also see something beneath the floor. She pointed down, her voice trembling slightly. Underneath us, there are lots of zombies. William's heart tightened immediately. Under the floor? Could it be an underground passage? After a frantic search, William discovered a hidden hatch tucked away in a corner of the freezer. Together, they climbed down the ladder into the dark, cold passage beneath the ice storage. Just as they ventured deeper inside, a feral zombie roar echoed from the darkness ahead. William turned to Bea, his expression grave. It's too dark here. I can't see a thing. I'll have to rely on you. Bea pointed at herself, her face full of disbelief. Me? You're relying on me? William gripped his long blade tightly, took a ready stance, and turned to Bea with a reassuring smile. Don't worry, you've got this. Seeing the absolute trust in William's eyes, Bea forced down her fear and nodded firmly. She activated her newly awakened ability, extending her senses into the darkness to locate the surrounding zombies. She called out the positions of the zombies one by one, guiding William. Thanks to Bea's real-time guidance, even though William couldn't see a thing, he was able to strike precisely and take down the zombies with ease. With their perfect teamwork, it didn't take long to clear the dark passage of threats. Before long, they arrived at the end of the underground tunnel. They found themselves inside a cramped storage room filled with piles of debris. Scanning the area carefully, William and Bea searched for any way out. But unfortunately, they found no passage leading to the outside world. Just as the two were running out of options, William's eyes caught something. Pointing to the side, he whispered, "There's a waterway over there. It should lead to the main fish pond." Without hesitation, they plunged into the water, following the submerged passage toward the pond. For a brief moment, Bea believed they had finally found their way to safety. But out of nowhere, a massive mutated fish monster lunged at her from the side before she could react. The creature snapped her up in its enormous jaws. In the next heartbeat, the monster began dragging her deeper into the murky depths. William immediately sprang into action, grabbing hold of Bea's hand, trying desperately to pull her free, but the monstrous bite force locked her in place, and they found themselves locked in a desperate struggle. Feeling the terrifying pull of the creature, Bea realized if this continued, she would only drag William down with her. With a strained, bittersweet smile, she looked up at him, and under William's stunned, anguished gaze, Bea wrenched her hand free, letting herself be pulled into the cold, dark depths of the pond. William watched helplessly as Bea was dragged deeper into the abyss. His mind flashed back to his previous life, to the moment he had also abandoned her, leaving her to face death alone, but not this time. In this life, he swore he would never let that happen again. Without hesitation, William launched himself forward, swimming with all his might toward the fish monster. At the same time, he activated his ability, Growth. In an instant, thick water plants erupted from the lakebed, spreading rapidly and entangling the monstrous creature. Within moments, the fish monster was tightly bound, immobilized by the writhing vines. From within the beast's jaws, Bea weakly opened her eyes, and through the murky water, she caught a glimpse of William swimming desperately toward her. She tried to call out to him, but before she could, darkness swallowed her once more. When she finally awoke, the world spun around her. Instinctively, she sat up and cried out in panic. William, hearing Bea call out, William turned around with a faint smile. "You're awake," he said softly. Holding out a can of food, he added casually, "I just heated some up. You should eat to regain your strength. As for the fish in this place, well, let's just say they're definitely off the menu." Bea accepted the can quietly, murmuring a soft thank you, then hesitated before asking, "What about that giant fish?" "The last thing I remember is you swimming toward me, and then nothing," William replied calmly. "It's still at the bottom of the lake, probably feeding the other fish by now." He paused for a moment, then added lightly, "It was big, sure, but nowhere near as troublesome as that mutated fisherman we fought in the freezer." His tone darkened slightly as he continued, "But the mutated fish will spread through the water systems. This is happening all over the world now. There's no stopping it anymore." After a brief, heavy silence, Bea softly called his name. "William." Her voice was filled with complicated emotions as she said, "Back in school, you were always so quiet, so hard to approach. I thought you were difficult to get along with, and we barely interacted. But after the outbreak, you've risked your life to save me again and again. Why?" William lowered his gaze, not meeting her eyes, and said quietly, "At first, I saved you because I needed your awakened ability to help protect my family." Hearing this, Bea's heart sank. She forced a small smile, but couldn't hide the sadness in her voice as she whispered, "I see. So that's how it is." The two sat in awkward silence for a moment. After a while, Bea's cheeks flushed pink as she asked softly, "So what about now?" William glanced up at her, met her eyes, and immediately panicked, quickly averting his gaze and fumbling for words that wouldn't come. Seeing his flustered reaction, Bea turned her head shyly, murmuring, When are we heading back?" William cleared his throat, steadying himself, and replied, "Right now. With your ability, we can avoid the zombies easily." With Bea's enhanced perception guiding them, the two managed to evade all threats and made it back home safely in no time. The moment they returned, William Ying ran over and threw herself into William's arms, her voice trembling with emotion. "You're finally back. Do you have any idea how worried I was?" William patted her back lightly, a soft smile tugging at his lips. All right. Enough drama. Everything's fine here, right?" But at his question, William Ying's smile faded. She lowered her voice, speaking solemnly. "You two better come with me first." As soon as William stepped inside the room, he was met with the agonized cries of Huang Tao, and saw his father and elder brother standing off to the side, their faces grim and heavy with worry. A deep sinking feeling gripped William's heart. When his eyes fell on Hang Tao, bound tightly to the sofa, his face darkened immediately as he asked, "What happened?" Lucas, his elder brother, stepped forward and explained, "On our way to find you and Bea, we got ambushed by a horde of zombies." He added with a bitter smile, "We tried to capture a second-tier zombie to get a crystal core to save him, but it didn't work." Sitting silently on the couch, Uncle Neo looked up at William with a hollow, desperate expression. Can Xiang still be saved?" he asked in a trembling voice. William turned his gaze back to Huang Tao. Hang Tao's eyes were bloodshot, his face twisted with bulging veins, a clear sign that the virus had already invaded his brain. Even if they tried to force a crystal core into him now, he would only turn into another monster like Jack. Just as William struggled with the words he needed to say, Hang Tao, regaining a flicker of awareness, spoke through gritted teeth. I don't want to become a zombie. Don't hesitate. Make it quick. William lowered his head, his hand trembling on the hilt of his blade. His mind was a storm of agony and indecision. But just as he clenched his jaw, William suddenly sensed something wrong behind him. Instantly, he activated his abilities and spun around to face whatever was lurking there. William turned sharply and saw his mother trembling violently, her eyes filled with inner conflict and pain. Without hesitation, he grabbed her arm, pulled her aside, and quickly pulled a crystal core from his pocket. His voice was urgent as he said, "Mom, quick, eat this!" His mother stared at the core, confused. This is the same thing Xiao Huang took. Where did you even get it? William didn't have time to explain. I found it at the fish farm. Just trust me. Eat it now. She opened her mouth to ask another question, but Alo, agonizing growl from Hang Tao cut through the room. Lucas shouted urgently, William! Huang Tao's not going to last much longer. William froze for a second, cursing under his breath. Damn it, still too late? He knew all too well. If they waited for his mother's ability to awaken, it would be too late. He had to make a decision right now. Acting on instinct, William moved swiftly, raising his long blade high, preparing to deliver a merciful blow to Hang Tao. But just as he was about to strike, a sudden surge of overwhelming energy burst out from behind him. Alarmed, William spun around, and there, floating in midair, was his mother. Her entire appearance had changed, radiating a pure, holy energy that lit up the room. With a simple, graceful wave of her hand, a beam of radiant power shot toward Huang Tao. In an instant, the zombie virus rampaging inside him began to dissolve and vanish. His blood-red feral eyes cleared, returning to a normal, lucid gaze. Moments later, Huang Tao stared at his healed body in utter disbelief, bursting out with joy. Look at me. I'm cured. Yet, no one in the room was paying attention to him. Every eye was fixed and stunned on William's mother, faces frozen with shock at the miracle they had just witnessed. Everyone was stunned. Not only had William's mother awakened a new ability, but even her appearance had changed, glowing with newfound vitality. Seeing his mother successfully awakened purification power, William finally let out a long, relieved breath. He then explained to the others his mother's new ability could emit a holy light, capable of cleansing zombie viruses from infected bodies. However, for those who had already fully transformed into zombies, the purification would act as a lethal force instead. As for why he had known she would awaken such an ability, William simply said, I sensed it. And truthfully, he wasn't sure how or why he had this kind of perception either. What he did know was the feeling was very similar to when he had previously sensed his elder brother and Enzi's abilities awakening. And this sensing ability seemed to be growing stronger over time, but there were limits. He couldn't sense Bea's ability, nor could he borrow it. William could only assume for now. His sensing and copying powers were likely restricted to his family by blood. The more family members who awakened abilities, the stronger he would become. After everyone eventually left to rest, William turned to Bea, his voice low and serious. Let's begin. Luna, can you scan the area and check how many zombies are still nearby? Bea nodded softly, then unleashed her full sensing ability. As her range expanded wider and wider, it didn't take long for her to map out the positions of the surrounding zombies. She whispered to William. There's about 100 near the minefield woods and another 100 around the back hills. Hearing that, William immediately asked, Any second-tier zombies spotted? Bea nodded slightly, replying, Yes, 3 of them. William's mind raced. 1 for Dad, 1 for Hang Tao, and 1 for Uncle No. If they could each successfully hunt and absorb a crystal core, the household's overall combat strength would surge. Just as William was strategizing how to approach the hunt, Bea suddenly gasped, her expression tense. The zombies. They're moving. And almost all at once she focused harder, her voice growing more urgent. They're converging toward one place, extending her sensing ability even further. Bea soon spotted something chilling. Right in the center of the gathering horde stood a lone human figure. When Bea finally got a clear look at the figure's face, she froze, disbelief written all over her. It's Jack. All the zombies are moving toward him. William's face darkened in shock. He thought back. He had seen Jack die, burned to ashes before his very eyes. Could it really be the same Jack that Bea was seeing now? Gritting his teeth, William muttered, Damn it! So it really was Jack who locked us inside the ice storage. His mind raced, connecting the dots, the ambush in the forest. That must have been his doing too. Bea, looking anxious, asked, What do we do? Should we warn everyone and set up defenses again like last time? William fell silent for a moment, then spoke with a heavy, resolute voice. At the current rate, Jack will need about a day to gather enough zombies to launch a full assault. A sharp glint flashed through his eyes. Rather than waiting for them to come to us, we'll strike first. Catch him completely off guard. Deep in the forest behind the hills, William stood tall, surveying the surroundings, then called out coldly, his voice cutting through the dense trees. Jack, I know you're here. Come out and face me. On a massive boulder not far away, a figure crouched low, slowly rising to his feet. It was none other than Jack, the man who was supposed to be dead. Lingjai sneered, staring coldly at William. Well, well, I didn't expect you to walk right into your own death, William. William's face remained expressionless. Is that so? He replied flatly. But weren't you the one playing dead last time? Jack's expression darkened immediately, rage flashing in his eyes. Shut up, he roared without another word. He lunged forward, claws gleaming as he struck toward William. William's gaze sharpened, his body tilting deftly to the side, and with a swift motion, his blade slashed across Jack's chest. As blood splattered, William caught sight of the lingering burn scars still marring Jack's body. In that moment, everything clicked into a place. A cold smirk tugged at William's lips. So I was right, he said mockingly. Your wounds never fully healed. That's why you played dirty back at the eye storage instead of facing me head-on. Lin Ji, you're nothing but a coward. Jack! Face twisted with rage. Growl back. Don't get cocky, even injured. You think you can take me on alone? But before he could finish, a deafening explosion tore through the forest behind him. Jack froze, his body stiffening, a growing sense of dread flooding his heart. Meanwhile, William sneered mockingly. Let me guess. You were about to boast about your reinforcements, right? Too bad. I knew about them from the start. My people intercepted them halfway through, Jack. This time you're dead for sure. Elsewhere, at the site of the explosion, William's father stood atop a towering tree branch, gazing down at the battlefield littered with fallen zombies. Laughing wildly, he roared, Didn't expect this, did you? I've been waiting here all along. Now burn. All of you turned to ashes. Meanwhile, on the ground below, William's mother watched expressionlessly toward the distance. From the tree-ine, yet another wave of zombies surged forward. Without hesitation, she unleashed her full purification power. The holy energy, the natural nemesis of zombie viruses, ignited a ghostly blue fire across the undead, reducing them to ashes within moments of contact. Watching the swarm being effortlessly wiped out, William's mother felt the surging strength of her ability and chuckled lightly. Not bad at all. This power sure makes cleanup easy. Hearing her words, William's father immediately hugged William's mother tightly, his face glowing with pride. You're amazing, honey, he laughed. William's mother, however, pushed him away with a look of disdain, choosing instead to contact Bea through her earpiece. After reporting that point A was clear zombies, she asked for the next target. Thanks to her sensing ability, Bea had already mapped out all nearby zombie locations. Hearing that one cluster was eliminated, she quickly responded, About 1 km northwest, there's another group, 24 zombies. After getting the new location, William's mother paused, her tone softening. Luna, how's your side? Is everything safe? Bea's voice came back reassuringly. Don't worry, we're hiding near the cellar entrance. There are guards stationed nearby too. Then she turned and asked Lucas, who was operating solo. Brother Lucas, are you okay on your own? Lucas, already fully adept with his awakened ability, answered cheerfully. Relax, these zombies aren't even enough for me to warm up. Hearing Lucas's confident words through the earpiece, William's father burst into hearty laughter, grinning as he said, Those zombies never saw this coming. Getting ambushed like this serves them right. Lucas chuckled too, then added, Seriously, none of this would have gone so smoothly without Bea. Her intelligence and coordination were key. From now on, Luna, you're officially our team's commander. Hearing everyone's praise, Bea blushed slightly and murmured, It's really thanks to all of you. I just a little part. Meanwhile, Jack, still suffering from his previous injuries, was being completely overwhelmed by William, barely able to defend himself. Jack's mind reeled in disbelief, staring at William with wide, desperate eyes. How had the gap between them been grown so vast? His eyes bulged with rage as he roared, I will not lose! But William simply sneered in response. You've been crushed on both flanks, and your main force can't even breathe. Lee, do you really think there's any way you can turn this around? As he spoke, William once again gathered energy into his hands, his voice cold and steady as he declared, It's over, Jack. Jack lowered his head silent for a brief moment before suddenly gritting his teeth and snarling back, It's over! Just then, back at the base, Bea's expression tightened. Urgently, she shouted into the earpiece, William, watch out! 3 second-tier zombies are heading your way. As her warning echoed in his ears, William turned only to see 3 massive mutated rat-like monsters charging straight at him. After a brief moment of distraction, William's face darkened. He said coldly to Jack, Mutated rat zombies. Is that really what you're counting on to beat me? Jack chuckled darkly. Who said I was using them to fight? Watch closely. As he spoke, Jack reached into the skull of one of the massive mutant rats, pulling out its crystal core and swallowing a whole, followed by the other 2 in quick succession. Moments later, a violent surge of power exploded from Jack's body. He slowly lifted his gaze toward William, a sinister smile playing on his lips. William, this is my true power. William stared at the now fully evolved 3rd-tier mutant Jack, a powerful sense of danger crashing over him. Without hesitation, William activated his abilities to the limit, dashing forward in a flash, long blade in hand, aiming straight at Jack. But Jack didn't even flinch. With a casual raise of his right hand, he effortlessly blocked William's strike. Then, with a swift, brutal palm strike, he sent William flying backwards through the air, watching William crash to the ground. Lin Ji sneered with mockery. Is that all you've got, William? As Jack finished speaking, William quickly realigned himself, channeling all his strength into a punch that struck Jack square in the chest. Yet, it still failed to leave so much as a scratch. Lin Gi chuckled coldly, taunting. How disappointing! Is this really the limit of your power? Come on, William. At least try something like this. With that, Jack seized William by the head, and with brutal force smashed him downward toward the ground. Dust and debris erupted violently. But as the dust cleared, there was no sign of William. Only a gaping hole remained, and a lingering trace of emerald green energy surrounded the edges. Seeing this, Jack blinked in mild surprise, muttering to himself, So, he has another ability. Escaped underground. After a brief pause, Jack's expression twisted into savage fury. No matter, he roared. I'll drag you out of whatever hole you're hiding in. Break you piece by piece, and then I'll slaughter every last one of your precious family. Not far away, hidden deep within the forest, William emerged from the hollow of a tree, his entire body covered in dust and bruises. He was breathing heavily, his strength drained after burning through so much of his energy. Thinking back to the power Jack had unleashed moments ago, William couldn't help but feel a chill down his spine. So, this is what a third-tier mutant's true power looks like. In my past life, I never even had a chance to face something like this head-on. I had no idea. It was this overwhelming gritting his teeth, he calculated quickly. Even if my brother and my mother joined forces with me, we still might not be able to take Jack down. His eyes hardened with determination. I have to find a way to end him before he completely loses control. If not, the consequences would be unimaginable. Suddenly, an overwhelming pressure crashed down upon him, so intense it nearly stole his breath away. Frowning deeply, William instinctively looked up at the sky. Where once hung a pure white moon, now there was only a blood-red orb staining the night with its ominous glow. Beneath that blood moon, a brilliant blue wave of light slowly rose from the distant horizon. And then without warning, a searing crimson beam clashed violently with a blue wave, sending shockwaves rippling through the air with a force that rattled the soul. As the deafening explosion echoed through the air, the rainbow-colored shockwave expanded outward at a terrifying speed. In the next instant, William's eyes narrowed sharply. Within the spreading halo, he could make out two shadowy figures standing amidst the chaos. But before he could figure out what was happening, Jack's mocking laughter rang out from behind him. William, still distracted even now? You're underestimating me way too much. William instinctively tried to turn around, but Jack's mutated tail lashed out, smashing into him and sending him hurtling through the air. William crashed hard against a massive boulder, the impact reverberating through the ground. The sudden blow, coupled with his already drained strength, left William unable to even stand. Jack casually strode over, crouched beside William, and pressed a mocking finger against his forehead. What's wrong? Can't run anymore? Where's all that fancy ability now? If you're out of options, then just die for me. But just as Jack prepared to deliver the final blow, the expanding halo of light washed over both him and William. The moment the light enveloped them, their bodies froze, as if some unseen force had locked them both in place, paralyzing them completely. No matter how hard William struggled, his body remained frozen, as if the entire world around him had been locked in suspended animation. But soon he realized, though he couldn't move, he could still activate his abilities. Without hesitation, William gathered all his energy into his forehead. And in the next instant, a sharp beam of power shot out, piercing straight through Jack's skull as the halo of light slowly faded. Lin Gi, now able to move again, clutched at his face in agony, screaming in pain. Moments later, he staggered away in terror, fleeing desperately into the depths of the forest, watching Jack's retreating figure. William's strength finally gave out, and he collapsed heavily onto the ground. A short time later, guided by Bea's directions, Lucas arrived at the scene. Seeing William battered and motionless, he rushed over, shouting, "William, are you all right?" Weakly, William forced out a few words. "Forget about me, Jack." He ran toward the woods. You have to chase him. Because deep down, William knew they had to end this now, once and for all. This world was shifting, growing stranger and more dangerous by the second. And those two figures that had appeared beneath the blood moon, they were high-tier ability users, beings who shouldn't even exist yet. In his previous life, after the outbreak of the zombie apocalypse, William had been the only surviving human from Chinxian village. One day a team of survivors found him. Ivers, their leader, looked at William as if he were an insect, and asked in a cold, casual voice, "How many zombies are there in Chinxian village?" William lifted his heavy eyelids and replied in a low, steady voice, "A lot. Close to 1,000. Very dangerous." The other members of the team burst into laughter, mocking him loudly. "1,000? 1,000? And you call that dangerous? Another useless coward, huh?" The leader pressed on. "And the strongest zombie? What tier and how many?" William hesitated for a moment, then lowered his head and answered, "4th tier. Only one." Hearing this, the leader's eyes lit up with excitement. Not bad. A 4th-tier zombie. Then he pointed lazily toward a spot nearby and ordered, "All right, go over there and put on a collar and shackles." William turned and looked and saw dozens of humans bound to a dead tree, each wearing collars and chains, their faces etched with humiliation and despair. It was clear these people had been reduced to slaves. Fury blazed in William's eyes, refusing to accept this fate. He sprang up and bolted towards the depths of the forest, but he hadn't gotten far before a surge of powerful energy crashed toward him like a tidal wave. Instantly, that surge of energy exploded into roaring flames, blocking William's path completely. The team leader sauntered forward, his face twisted into a mocking grin. "Try to run," he sneered. "We high-tier ability users are the chosen ones. The new race blessed by the gods." His voice turned colder as he added, "Trash like you was born to be our slave." Back in the present, William arrived at the spot where the blue light had fallen the day before. Staring at the devastated landscape before him, he knew deep down this was almost certainly tied to the emergence of high-tier ability users. 5. His experiences from his previous life had taught him well. Many of those so-called elites were nothing but monsters in human skin and the disasters they unleashed that were far worse than any zombie outbreak. He had to uncover the truth early before history repeated itself. Following the scorched earth trail, William soon spotted a massive crater at the base of a hill. Nestled inside the pit, a massive white crystal, at least half his height, gleamed with a strange ethereal light, captivating his gaze completely. As William slowly approached the white crystal, a strange feeling stirred inside him. An overwhelming primal urge, the instinct to devour the crystal, surged through him. He reached out, fingers just about to touch its gleaming surface. When suddenly, alarm bells screamed in his mind. His instincts flared to life. In a flash, he triggered his ability and sprang backward, putting distance between himself and the crystal. His gaze sharpened and he barked out, "Who's there?" The next instant, a shadowy figure silently appeared behind him. The newcomer chuckled softly and said, "Looks like you're the sole survivor of this area." Glancing casually at William's glowing fingertips, now aimed at his neck, the man smiled faintly and added, "Not bad. Good reflexes. Plenty of potential worth tapping into." William's expression remained cold, his energy crackling dangerously at his fingertips. In a low, icy voice, he demanded, "Step back. I'll only ask one more time. Who are you?" Hearing William's icy demand, the middle-aged man simply waved it off with a chuckle. All right, he said lightly. "My name's Takahashi, third-tier ability user." But before his words had even fully settled, William's eyes sharpened, and he instantly gathered energy into his right hand, throwing a powerful punch straight at Takahashi's face. Yet Takahashi's expression remained unchanged. He merely released a slight pulse of his own ability. Instantly, the space around him began to ripple and distort bizarrely. In the blink of an eye, Takahashi vanished from where he had been standing. As William tensed for a counterattack, Takahashi's voice drifted over from beside the white crystal. Relaxed and a bit exasperated, he said, "Geez, kid, you're really wound tight, huh? It was just a joke. No need to throw hands right away." Pointing casually at the white crystal, he added, "Relax. I'm not here for you, for your family or friends. I'm only interested in that. The original core." Hearing this, William finally lowered his guard slightly, though his face was still clouded with confusion. "The original core? What's that?" Takahashi blinked in surprise, then laughed incredulously. "You seriously don't know? I figured you came here precisely because you knew there was treasure." Scanning William up and down, he shook his head and chuckled. "Looks like you're just a freshly awakened first-tier rookie after all." Takahashi didn't bother hiding anything with a chuckle, he explained. "Ever played in a MMORPG? This crystal is basically a leveling up item." He snapped his fingers casually and continued. "Ability users can strengthen themselves by absorbing zombie cores, but that method only gets you to tier 4 at best. To reach higher levels, you need these original cores." As he spoke, he gently tapped the massive white crystal with his fingertip. A chunk about the size of a palm detached itself, floating steadily into William's hand, staring down at the glowing shard in his palm. William narrowed his eyes and asked flatly, "You're not giving this away for free, are you? What do you want from me?" Takahashi merely smirked, his tone easygoing as he replied, "Smart kid. One day I might need your help for something. Until then, just focus on raising your ability level." As he spoke, Takahashi's figure began fading into the distorted space around him. Before vanishing completely, he tossed out one last cryptic remark. "Oh, right. Almost forgot to mention, there really are gods in this world." And with that, Takahashi and the giant original core both disappeared from sight. Left alone, William stood frozen, the ominous weight of Takahashi's final words pressing down on him, still hearing the echo of those words in his mind. He muttered under his breath, "Gods? No way! That guy must be out of his mind." William tried hard to convince himself there couldn't possibly be real gods in this world. Yet unbidden, he remembered the words of that survivor leader from his past life. High-tier ability users are the new humans chosen by the gods. Slowly, the unwavering atheism that William had clung to for so long began to crack. He muttered under his breath, "If gods really do exist, then could this apocalyptic world have been their doing?" As doubts flooded his mind, a faint blue light began to seep up from the cracks beneath his feet. The sudden energy fluctuation around him made William tense up instinctively. He frowned deeply, his eyes locking onto the source ahead. At the center of the crater, a blinding pillar of blue light erupted skyward. As the intense light slowly faded, William saw floating at the heart of the crater a crystalline shard pulsing with an eerie blue glow. Staring at the mysterious object, William murmured in confusion, "Did this thing grow out from where the original core used to be?" But before he could make sense of it, the blue crystal began to tremble violently, then shot toward him at breathtaking speed. In the next instant, the blue crystal shot forward like a bullet, slamming straight into William's body before he could even react. William's eyes flared with an intense blue light, his entire body convulsing violently, painful cries escaping his lips. Meanwhile, the clear skies above suddenly darkened, and thick fog surged from every direction, swirling upward and lifting William's body high into the air. Elsewhere in the forest, Lucas and Isabella, who had been desperately searching for William, saw the sudden eruption of dense white mist. Their hearts immediately tightened with worry. Lucas's gaze sharpened. He whispered urgently, "Stay quiet." Startled, William followed his line of sight. Within the thick mist, a faint figure was swaying back and forth, bathed in a glowing blue aura, fear creeping in her voice. Isabella whispered, "Big brother? Could that be a ghost?" Lucas rolled his eyes and muttered back, "Don't be ridiculous. There's no such thing as ghosts." Still, the eerie figure within the fog continued slowly, steadily drifting closer and closer toward them, just as the blurred figure was about to fully reveal itself. In the very next instant, it shimmered and vanished into the thick mist. Before Lucas and Isabella could even react or move forward to investigate, a blinding blue beam of light suddenly shot up from deep within the distant forest, piercing through the darkened skies. William aghast, grabbing Lucas's arm and shouting, "Big brother, what's happening over there? Is someone transcending like in a novel?" Lucas's expression turned serious, activating his ability immediately. He sighed in exasperation at her comment and replied, "Stop reading so many fantasy novels. Believe in science a little, will you? I'll go check it out." "You stay back!" Before Isabella could even respond, Lucas's figure surged upward, his body expanding with raw energy, and he leapt powerfully toward the source of the blue light. Snapping back to her senses, Isabella's eyes flashed with a vibrant green glow. She quickly extended her ability into a thick tree vine nearby. Under her control, the vine grew rapidly, lifting her high into the air. With Isabella riding atop the vine, she raced after her brother, speeding toward the brilliant pillar of light. Lucas, racing ahead, sensed movement from the forest behind him and slowed to a stop, turning around. He spotted Isabella rushing up, panting heavily. He couldn't help but chuckle and said, "I told you it was dangerous. Why did you still follow me?" Catching her breath, Isabella answered firmly, "Exactly because it's dangerous. The more people we have, the more strength we can muster." Just as they spoke, Isabella's eyes widened in shock. She pointed ahead and shouted, "Big brother, look over there!" Following her gaze, Lucas saw it. A massive blue sphere of light completely enveloping William. Floating within the sphere, William's eyes were tightly shut. His brows furrowed in pain. A glowing blue crystal was embedded at the center of his chest, pulsating faintly. Seeing this, Lucas's face changed drastically. He shouted anxiously, "William, hang in there! I'm coming to get you out!" Without hesitation, he gathered all his strength into his fist and hurled a powerful punch straight at the shimmering barrier. Yet, despite his full force, the sphere merely rippled gently, like water disturbed by a pebble, completely unaffected. Watching the barrier remain intact, Lucas's brows furrowed deeply. He thought grimly, "It looks so soft, but it's harder than steel." At that moment, the blue crystal embedded in William's chest suddenly cracked, shattering into countless shards of light that flowed straight into his body. The next instant, his tightly shut eyes snapped open. A blinding burst of blue light flared from deep within his gaze. As the surge of energy inside him gradually subsided, the turbulent phenomena around them slowly died down, returning the world to an eerie calm. When William slowly drifted back to consciousness, Isabella, unable to hold back her joy, exclaimed, "Second brother, you're finally awake!" Beside her, Lucas grinned with relief and added, "Seriously, you had us scared out of our minds. You've been unconscious for a whole day." Meanwhile, standing sternly at the foot of the bed, their mother fixed William with a disapproving glare and scolded, "Running off alone with your injuries, leaving your radio behind. What the hell were you thinking? Huh?" Hearing her scolding, William tried to piece together what had happened, but his memories of yesterday were shrouded in a dense, impenetrable fog. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't recall the details. Seeing William's equally baffled expression, Isabella asked curiously, "You don't know what happened either back then. You were completely trapped inside this huge blue orb. Then it just shattered on its own." Before she could finish her sentence, William's eyes suddenly narrowed and a faint blue light flared deep within his pupils. At the same time, a translucent blue interface appeared before him. Isabella gender. Female age 16 ability. Growth manipulation tier. 1 upgrade requirement. 2 tier. 2 zombie cores. Chance to advance to high tier. Tier 5 19%. Original core required for advancement. 1. Staring at the unexpected data panel floating in midair, William froze for a moment, muttering under his breath, "What is this? Is this Isabella's profile? How can I even see this?" He shifted his gaze toward his mother. Sure enough, the information updated again. C. Fong. Gender. Female age, 52. Ability. Purifying light tier. 1 upgrade requirement. 3 tier, 2 zombie cores. Chance to advance to high tier, tier 50. 3%. Original core required for advancement. 1. Moving his gaze to Lucas, the panel refreshed once more. Lucas, gender male, age 28, ability Blood Bastion, Tier 1 upgrade requirement. 2. Tier 2 zombie cores, chance to advance to high tier 5 12% original core required for advancement. 1. Gazing at the swirling data, William quickly pieced things together from the looks of it. An original core is needed to break through to high tier abilities, but the success rates are so low, and worse yet, I have no idea if there's any way to boost those odds or what the consequences of failure might be. William lowered his eyes, gazing at the lonely original core he still held in his hand. He drew a long, steadying breath, his resolve hardening like iron. Time's running out. Before they arrive, I have to get stronger, no matter what it takes. As William sank deeper into his thoughts, his father suddenly patted him roughly on the shoulder and barked. Snap out of it, kid. William looked back at him helplessly and asked, What is it, Dad? William Ginhao grinned and teased. You've been zoning out forever. What's got you so lost in thought? At that moment, another data panel appeared before William. William's eyes dashed. William Ginhao's gender. Male, age 51. Awaken ability. Gigatification not yet awakened. Awakening probability 4%, modified to 100% due to external ability influence. Awakening requirement, 1 tier, 1 zombie core. Chance to advance to high tier, tier 5 minus 70%. Original core required for advancement. 1. After glancing over his father's stats, William got out of bed, brushing off the sheets, and said casually, All right. I'm fine. No need to worry so much. But deep inside, he felt anything but calm. Now he could see everyone's abilities, awakening status, upgrade requirements, even their chances of advancement. It felt like he was cheating. A game where only he had the strategy guide. Watching him get up and head outside, William asked, exasperated, Where are you going now? Without looking back, William waved her off and said, Just been lying down too long. Need to get some fresh air. And with that, he walked out into the courtyard, staring at his retreating back. Isabella pouted and muttered, So heartless, and we were so worried about him too. Lucas chuckled, patting her shoulder and saying, William probably has something weighing on his mind. Let's just give him some space. Meanwhile, outside, Summer Luna spotted William emerging and lit up with joy. She waved cheerfully and called out, William, you're finally awake. Perfect timing. I just made some food. Come eat. After sleeping an entire day, William realized he was genuinely starving. He smiled and replied, Thanks. I'm actually pretty hungry. Watching from the balcony, Lucas chuckled and teased, Look at that. When did William manage to win Luna over? Isabella, looking entirely unsurprised, rolled her eyes and said, You're just now noticing. After the night they spent together, it was pretty obvious. Just then, their father stepped out from the house, grinning at Lucas and saying, You'd better hurry up too. William's already got himself a girlfriend, and you're still flying solo, big bro. Lucas sighed heavily, while Isabella added fuel to the fire, teasing, Yeah, growing up you only ever brought your bros home. Never a girlfriend in sight. After finishing the food, William wiped his mouth, his expression turning serious. He asked quietly, By the way, any updates on Jack? Can you still sense him? Summer Luna shook her head, replying softly, No, he's outside my detection range now. Even when Lucas went searching, he didn't find anything. Hearing this, William's brows furrowed deeply, his mind sinking into heavy thought. In my previous life, Jack was just a nobody, a minor casualty swallowed by the zombie hordes. I never gave him a second thought, but this time, he's become a real threat. I let my guard down, noticing the heavy frown on William's face. Summer Luna edged closer, gently, whispering, You've been frowning a lot lately. It's not like you at all. Summer Luna spoke softly. Back when a zombie outbreak first happened, everyone else panicked. But you stayed calm, helping us survive crisis after crisis. At that time, I thought no matter what happened, you would always handle it. You made people feel safe, reliable, but one person's strength has its limits. You can't always shoulder everything alone. So if something ever comes up, something you can't handle, please tell us. We're family. Hearing her words, William smiled lightly and teased. Family, huh? Summer Luna's face immediately flushed bright red. She lowered her head, stammering. And no, I mean you can think of me as family. No, wait. What I mean is me and your family. Whatever. Watching her flustered reaction, William felt a warmth spread through his chest. He chuckled softly and said, I get it. Then he glanced up toward the balcony and shouted, Hey, you three hiding by the window. Come here. We need to talk. On the balcony, William, Jinhao, Lucas, and Isabella exchanged awkward glances, having been caught red-handed. Once they gathered, William laid everything out. His encounter with a Tier 3 ability user, the secrets of ability advancement, and the existence of original cores. Realizing the dangers that lay ahead, they quickly came to an agreement. They would leave the village, head out in search of vital supplies, and better prepare themselves for the chaotic future to come. Just then, Isabella spoke up from the back seat. That's great. Doesn't this mean we're not the only survivors? Hearing that, William simply lowered his gaze, saying nothing. Beside him, Mother Sia's expression grew tense. She said worriedly, That might not be as good as it sounds. In times of peace, people can coexist. But in the apocalypse, human nature can't stand any real tests. When survival is at stake, humans can be just as terrifying as zombies, maybe even worse. At that, William lifted his head, his eyes full of steely resolve. He said firmly, "That's why we have to stick together. We need to keep strengthening our abilities, gather weapons and supplies, and defend our home at all costs." Driving the vehicle burst into hearty laughter and said, "Anyone stupid enough to mess with us is going to regret it big time." Before long, they pulled over by the side of the road just across from the old fishery. Gazing at the rundown facility, William's father asked, "Is that the place you mentioned? Are you sure there's really gunpowder inside?" William nodded confidently and replied, "Yeah, if I'm right, there's not just gunpowder, there's also—" But before he could finish, a thunderous explosion ripped through the air. A massive ball of fire erupted from the direction of the fishery, lighting up the sky. Witnessing the massive explosion, William froze on the spot. His eyes widened in shock, his mouth slightly agape, completely stunned. Moments later, as the smoke slowly cleared from the ruined fishery, a group of heavily armed men emerged from the wreckage. Seeing the well-equipped team, Lucas narrowed his eyes, his voice tense. Where the hell did these guys come from? How did they know about the fishery so fast? William's eyes sharpened, his tone calm as he replied, "They're probably the ones helping Jack smuggle weapons." Hearing this, everyone turned to William, faces full of confusion. William explained briefly, "When I left the fishery last time, I locked the main gate and kept the key. Normally, no one would have found the storage room so easily, but now they blew up the entrance without hesitation. That means someone already knew about the weapon stash, and the only ones who could know were insiders." Lucas clenched her fist angrily, gritting her teeth as she said, "So much good stuff, and they got to it first." William gave a faint smile, saying lightly, "Not necessarily." Lucas picked up on the implication immediately, her voice filled with worry. "You're not seriously thinking about taking them head on, are you? They have guns." William didn't answer. Instead, he turned towards Summer Luna and asked seriously, "Luna, can you sense how many zombies are still beneath the fish ponds?" Hearing William's question, Summer Luna nodded slightly. She closed her eyes, spreading her detection ability outward toward the fishery. It didn't take long before she opened her eyes again. Having finished her scan, she reported clearly, "There are 52 zombies inside the fishery. 45 are regular ones, and 6 of them have cores, most likely Tier 2 zombies." Summer Luna paused, her expression growing more serious, and added, "And there's one that's different from the others. It's much bigger, stronger, and there's a black crystal embedded in its head." William narrowed his eyes slightly, responding calmly, "Sounds like a Tier 3 zombie." He continued analyzing. The fishery's underground space is huge, cramped, and enclosed. They won't be able to use their guns freely. No way they'll wipe out all the zombies easily, especially not with a Tier 3 lurking down there. A faint smirk tugged at the corner of William's lips as he said, "We'll just sit back and let them wear each other out." Isabella's eyes lit up with excitement. Rubbing her hands together, she grinned and said, "Yeah, let's sit back and watch the show, then swoop in and clean up." As they were discussing, Lucas suddenly raised his hand and said in a low voice, "Hold up. Someone's coming." William immediately tensed, his senses sharpening. Following Lucas's gaze, he spotted a figure up ahead on the road, crouched with a gun, scanning their direction. Seeing this, William shouted sharply, "Get down!" under heavy gun pressure from the enemy. William kept his cool and said to Lucas, "Split up." Without hesitation, Lucas replied, "Got it. I'll draw him out up top. You flank him from below." William nodded, then immediately darted off to the side, circling toward the enemy. Sensing movement, the enemy reacted, vaulting over the roadside barrier in an attempt to flee into the forest. But just as he landed, William was already there like a shadow. Before the man could even process what was happening, William slammed his palm directly into his forehead. There was a dull thud as the man spun through the air, crashing down unconscious. Looking at the enemy, who was already knocked unconscious, William, which was said calmly, "All done. Let's drag him back and squeeze some intel out of—" But just then, Lucas shouted urgently from the distance, "William, watch out!" No sooner had the words left his mouth, a deafening explosion erupted right where William stood. When the smoke cleared, there was a deep crater where William had been. As for the enemy William had captured, only his severed arm remained. William's reflexes kicked in just in time. He had leapt to safety behind a nearby tree. In his shock, William noticed a small marble still hot, lying at the blast center, hiding nearby. Lucas shouted another warning. "Careful, there's an ability user." As he spoke, a whistling noise cut through the air. William looked up sharply to see multiple marbles flying straight for his hiding spot. With a tremendous impact, the tree William was hiding behind snapped cleanly in half. One of the marbles grazed past his hand, leaving a bleeding scrape. Seeing this, Lucas called out anxiously, "William, you okay?" Glancing at his injured hand, William replied coolly, "Just a scratch." Then he added, "Did you see where the shots came from?" Lucas analyzed grimly. "The marbles are coming from multiple directions. No way to pinpoint exactly where the shooter is, but judging from the sound, they're bouncing off trees, ricocheting in from a distance." William frowned, puzzled, ricocheting. Lucas nodded and explained, "Yeah, kind of like a giant pinball machine." Only here, the trees are the bumpers and we're the jackpot slots. As he finished speaking, more marbles came whistling through the forest. Seeing this, William thought to himself, just as I thought, hiding isn't going to work. Whoever's attacking us can definitely see our movements. But something didn't add up. If the marbles were launched from so far away, how could they be so accurate? If they're tracking us this precisely, the shooter must be close by, unless there's another ability user helping them. Once William finished clearing the zombies hidden in the woods, Lucas finally let out a breath of relief, but quickly frowned and said, "The marble attacks. They stopped." William narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "Which means I was right. They were using a zombie to spy on us." Lucas's face changed as he exclaimed, "You mean there are 2 ability users?" William stayed cautious and replied, "Maybe even more." Just then, Isabella's anxious shout came from the roadside. "Big bro, second bro, get in the car quick. The people from the fishery are moving. They've spotted us." Hearing Isabella shout, both William and Lucas tensed immediately, but William quickly regained his composure. With their enemies' numbers and abilities unknown, fighting head-on would only put them at a disadvantage. The only smart move was to retreat for now and plan carefully. Meanwhile, in the distant forest, a blond man cursed angrily. "What the hell? We just let them get away!" He glared at the heavy-set man beside him, snapping Fathead. "Seriously, we were having a good time. Why'd you shut off the shared vision?" The man called Fathead, nonchalantly applying lipstick, replied lazily. He didn't see that last hit. "Our scout's head got blown clean off. What was I supposed to share? Huh?" He then batted his eyes playfully, adding flirtatiously, "Still, those 2 cuties. Pretty impressive for so-called civilians." After a brief pause, Fathead turned the tables, grumbling, "By the way, why the hell did you kill the client's guy? How are we going to explain that?" The blond man shrugged carelessly. If he got caught, he had to die. What is blaming on those 2 kids? Besides, the job was clearing out zombies from the fishery. A few human casualties. No big deal. At that moment, an old bald man slowly approached them, his gaze sharp and cold. "Enough playing around," he said in a deep, harsh voice. "The freezer's open. Get in there. He is still the supplies at the fishery until they secure everything. They have no reason to pick extra fights." But then Jojo's tone dropped even colder. "But once they've taken full control, they'll definitely come looking for us." Instantly, a heavy sense of dread settled over the whole house like a suffocating fog. After a long pause, Joing forced a smile and said, "Maybe it won't be that bad. Didn't second bro say there's a tear? 3 zombie at the fishery and the place is packed with explosives. They can't just use guns. Maybe they'll get wiped out by the zombies instead," she added, trying to stay optimistic. "Wouldn't that be nice?" But Joing frowned deeply, his face dark. "Don't get your hopes up. They've got ability users. They don't need guns to wipe out those zombies." Joing's smile stiffened, and she asked quietly, "Then what do we do?" At that moment, Joa, who had been silent all along, spoke up coldly and firmly. "If they dare come after us, we'll fight to the death." Joba nodded fiercely, slamming his palm onto the table. "That's right. Anyone who threatens my family, I'll personally send them to hell." Then he turned to Joing, grinning. "And help me whip up some more explosives later. Let's make sure they get a warm welcome if they dare show up." Joing nodded eagerly, her eyes flashing with excitement. But Joey, watching this scene, only felt the weight on his heart grow heavier. He thought to himself, in his previous life, it had taken 2 whole months before anyone found Qing Mountain Village. But this time it took only 1 week. These people were clearly trained mercenaries. Their firepower and tactics far outmatched his side. And once they gained full access to the fishery's explosives, plus if they managed to absorb the tear 2 zombie cores to evolve further, the consequences would be disastrous. Waiting any longer would be suicide. But striking now carried unknown risks too, as Jojo was sank deeper into his troubled thoughts. A soft, warm hand quietly covered his. Just as Jojo's mind weighed heavily with worry, Bea smiled softly, gently placing her hand on his and said, "It's okay. You have to trust your family." At that moment, a burst of static crackled from William's walkie-talkie, followed by Hang Tao's urgent voice. "Hello, anyone there? This is Hang Tao." William immediately grabbed the device and answered, "This is William." "What's going on?" On the other end, Huang Tao spoke quickly. "Thank goodness we're at the hardware store. There's a situation. We found a living person collapsed here." William's eyes widened sharply, and he barked into the radio. "Tie them up now." Huang Tao, confused, asked, "Why? What's going on?" William didn't waste time explaining. He simply ordered, "Just do it." Nice. No questions. Without another word, William bolted out the door, shouting for the others to stay behind and guard the house. As he sprinted toward the hardware store, William's mind raced. "Damn it! One of the enemy scouts already. They found us faster than I thought." His eyes turned cold as steel. "I can't let that guy make it back alive." William quickly arrived at the hardware store where Huang Tao and the others were stationed outside. Olivia rushed up to him, her face bright with excitement. "William, you're here. We went to the hospital first thing this morning, found tons of medicine." But William didn't even slow down. He only tossed back a curt, "Good job," before pushing past her, heading straight inside. Olivia froze in place, watching him walk away with a complicated hurt expression. Inside, William found Huang Tao immediately asking sharply, "Where is he?" Hang Tao pointed to the corner right there, tied up tight. William walked over, studying the man carefully. Something fell off. This guy didn't look like he was part of that armed group. William frowned, reaching out to lift the man's head. As the face came into view, William's expression twisted in shock, blurting out, "Gao Xiao." At that moment, the man slowly opened his eyes. Realizing he was bound, he immediately started thrashing and shouting in panic. Before William could even explain, Gao Xiao instantly activated his ability, phasing into the void and vanishing from sight. William immediately called out loudly, "Calm down! We've met before." A moment later, Gao Xiao reappeared from a spatial rift, this time right behind Olivia, grabbing her as a hostage. He shouted in panic, "Nobody move! Come any closer and I'll kill her." Wang Tao quickly raised his hands, tried to defuse the tension. "Easy, easy. We mean no harm." Gaia hesitated for a moment, then finally released Olivia, mumbling, I just really want some beef noodles." Back at the house, everyone sat around awkwardly, watching as Gawia devoured bowl after bowl of beef noodles, looking absolutely content. A heavy silence filled the room, watching Gao Xiaobei eat like a starved animal. William Ming frowned, leaning over to William and whispering, "Seriously, this is the guy you met in the mountains." William nodded silently. Nearby, Williaming wrinkled her nose in disgust, scoffing, "You're kidding me. He looks more like some washed-up bum freeloading for a meal." William narrowed his eyes, studying Gao Xiaowei carefully. Something felt way off. This guy didn't seem anything like the powerful figure he'd met before, and he showed no sign of recognizing William. Suspicious, William quietly activated his ability. In the next moment, a data panel popped up before William. Gao Xiaobei, male, 28 ability, spatial teleportation, Tier 1 upgrade requirement, 2 tier, 2 zombie cores, Tier 3 evolution chance, 15% ascension needs, 1 origin core. William's doubts only deepened. He remembered Gao Xiaowei claiming to be a Tier 3 ability user. Why was he listed as only Tier 1 now? Was he faking it? Or had he truly lost his memory? After scarfing down a few more bowls, Gao Xiao finally set his chopsticks down, looking completely satisfied. He smiled brightly. "Seriously, thank you guys. If it wasn't for you, I probably would have starved to death out there." William cut him off coldly. "No need for thanks. Start talking." Gao Xiao blinked blankly. "Huh? About what?" William stared him down. "How exactly did you get to our village?" Gaia stammered. It's kinda complicated. You probably won't believe me, but I teleported here." William frowned slightly, asking, "Escape?" He ran into zombies. Gao Xiaowei nodded quickly. "Yeah, they chased me all the way out of the city." I panicked, closed my eyes, and somehow I ended up here. He glanced around at everyone, confused by their calm faces, and asked, "You're all seriously just going to believe that?" I said, "I teleported, and none of you even flinched." William ignored the question, pressing on. "So, you're from the city?" Gochia nodded again. "Serious this time?" "Yeah." William Ming jumped in. "What's going on in the city? Did the military step in? Are the zombies under control?" At those words, Gao Xiaoi's expression darkened, his face tightening as terrible memories flashed through his mind. It took him a while before he spoke. His voice loathed the city. It was a nightmare. The first day the zombies appeared, the streets descended into chaos. There were screams everywhere, people trampling each other, cars crashing into crowds. I hid in a garbage heap all night, listening to the cries and wails outside, telling myself over and over, "Just hold on. Someone will come rescue us tomorrow." But when the sun rose the next day, there was no rescue. The entire city was already lost. Gao Xiao continued quietly. Some people kept fighting, even in total despair. Others, they gave up. They took their own lives. The room grew heavier with every word. William interrupted, his voice steady. "Enough with the details. Get to the point." Goshia flashed an okay sign, then went on, "Fine, fine." When I was about to end it all, I got this text. He pulled out his phone and showed them the screen. William's eyes sharpened instantly as he read it. "Those chosen by the gods will become the new humans." This message, it came from them. But that was just the second day. A chill ran through William's spine. In his previous life, it had taken over a month after the outbreak for the first ability users to emerge. Back then, no one even knew about zombie cores yet. How could they possibly know this early? William's pupils shrank as a terrifying thought struck him. Could it be someone among them has been reborn too? At that moment, William Ming asked, "You mean people in the city already know about zombie cores?" Gao Xiao looked surprised. "You guys know about the cores too?" William Ming crossed her arms and replied proudly. "Of course we do. Not just seen them. We've eaten them." Gao Xiao's jaw dropped. "You all ate one. Wait, don't tell me. You've all awakened powers." William Ming grinned smugly. "You bet." Gao Xiao looked at them with obvious envy, sighing, "You guys really are lucky. If only my team had been that fortunate." After a moment, he began to explain. "On the third day after the outbreak, I joined a group of over 100 people, just trying to survive. We spent our days scavenging for supplies and hunting zombies. After 2 days, we managed to find 5 zombie cores. The 5 team leaders decided they'd be the first to consume them. Only the team capped and awakened powers. The other 4, they turned into monsters and were killed on the spot by the captain. By the 4th day, the captain was leading raids against other survivor groups, and fights between ability users broke out, turning into full-on wars. As things escalated, they started forcing more people to consume cores, myself included. Most either mutated immediately and were put down, or got dragged into the endless bloodshed. It all got too crazy. I ran, got chased by a horde of zombies, but somehow my powers finally awakened, and I managed to survive. Lucas frowned deeply, muttering, "Ability users killing each other over supplies." Isabella shivered a little, saying, "Honestly, after hearing that, I'm glad I stayed in the village. The city sounds terrifying." Gaiosia nodded eagerly. "Exactly. It's great here. Food, water, safety. What more could you ask for?" He slapped his knee. "That's it. I've decided. I'm staying here for good." William, however, shattered his fantasy with a calm voice. "Don't get too comfortable. It's not as safe as you think." Gaia blinked, completely confused. Seeing this, William added, "We're facing a bit of trouble ourselves. If you want to keep enjoying food and shelter, you'll need to pull your weight." As soon as William stepped out of the room, Bea hurried over that fast. "You're done talking already?" William Uswa nodded. "Let's keep him around for now. He might actually be useful." Takahashi Bey scratched the back of his head and said shyly, "I'm Takahashi Bey. Thanks for the meal, guys." William's parents and the others all took turns introducing themselves as well. Takahashi responded seriously, calling out, "Okay, Sister Luna, Sister Fang, Uncle Hao." The whole group froze, visibly confused by the way he addressed them. Just then, Lucas came out of the room and elbowed Takahashi, speechless. "Seriously? You're over 30 and still calling girls and their 20 sisters?" Takahashi's eyes widened in disbelief. "Over 30? I'm only 18. Everyone went dead silent, completely stunned. After pause, William gasped, "You've got to be kidding. You're 18 looking like that." Takahashi looked utterly heartbroken, like he'd just been emotionally KO'd. "I just look a bit mature for my age, okay? I swear I'm telling the truth." William stepped in to smooth things over. All right. I believe you." In a flash, Takahashi lunged forward, hugging William tightly, bawling like a kid. "Thank you. I thought you were some cold, emotionless guy, but deep down, you're a total soft day." William was speechless, but in his mind, he recalled how even he was stunned when his ability confirmed Takahashi's age earlier. Brushing him off, William said, "That's enough. Time's short. Come with me." Takahashi blinked. "Wait, go where?" William didn't look back. "You'll see soon enough." Inwardly, though, he stayed cautious. This guy's either been through hell or he's hiding something under that goofy act. Just as they were about to leave, Bea shouted from behind, holding something in her hand. "William, hold on." William paused, turning back with a confused look. Bea walked up and handed the item to him, speaking softly. "I found this among the weapons we recovered. Thought it might suit you. Not sure if it's your style, but I hope it is." William took the item and carefully pulled it out of the black bag. Inside was a long blade. On the handle, 2 characters were engraved. Junhai. William gave a faint smile and nodded at Bea. "Nice blade." "Thanks." Seeing that he liked it, Bea couldn't help but smile as well. Before leaving, William gave a final reminder. "We'll be back in an hour. If anything happens, call me immediately." With that, he left with Takahashi. As they walked, Takahashi couldn't help but ask again. "Where exactly are we going?" William replied calmly. "A place you should recognize. The spot where you found the crystal core. The back mountain." Takahashi blinked. "Seriously that far? We driving?" William shook his head. "You're teleporting us." Takahashi scratched his head nervously. "I've never teleported with someone before. What if something goes wrong?" William clapped him on the shoulder. "Firm as ever? You'll never know if you don't try." After a brief pause, Takahashi sighed. "All right, hang on tight." Then he grabbed William's arm and activated his power. In the next instant, both of them vanished without a trace. When they reappeared, they were standing on top of an abandoned high-rise. The air was eerily still, but in the next second, Takahashi realized there was nothing beneath his feet. Just as he was about to plummet, William grabbed the back of his collar, leaving him dangling in midair. Takahashi screamed, panic written all over his face. "Bro, please pull me up first, man." But William didn't even flinch. He calmly scanned the surroundings. "Looks like we landed on the north side of the village." Teleported about 3 kilometers, but still a bit off from the back mountain. Then he glanced down at the dangling Takahashi and said flatly, "Let's go again. Aim for the mountain this time." Takahashi freaked out again. William stayed stone cold. "This is a field test of your ability. Keep going." Takahashi wanted to refuse so badly, but one look at William's expressionless face, and he knew, saying, "No, might. Just get him dropped." With no other choice, he gulped, powered up, and triggered another teleport, this time toward the back mountain. Every time they teleported, Takahashi let out a loud, dramatic scream, like a man getting exercised. After several jumps, the two finally landed on the thick branch of an old tree. William shot him a deadpan look. Could you not scream like that every time? You're scaring the wildlife. Takahashi flushed with embarrassment. Hey, I'm not a teleporting robot. I've never done this much back-to-back, let alone with a passenger. William didn't bother arguing. We're almost there. Keep going. Takahashi shut his eyes, gasping for breath. Can I catch my breath first? William shook his head. Nope. We're on a timer. With a soul deep sigh, Takahashi powered up again, defeated but obedient. After a few more jumps, they finally arrived at the edge of a massive crater on the backside of the mountain. Staring at the massive crater before them, Takahashi panted, nearly out of breath. Finally we made it, right? William nodded. Yeah, this is the place. He shot Takahashi a cold glance. That little test, I've seen enough. Honestly, your teleportation is worse than I expected. Takahashi blinked, confused, but William didn't bother explaining. The most crucial thing in teleportation is control. And yours, it's only accurate within 100 meters. Any farther and your landings are a mess. Plus, your stamina drains too fast. You can't even chain your jumps properly. Takahashi scratched his head, giving an awkward grin. Okay, sure. It's rough, but still usable, right? William suddenly snapped, his voice sharp like a whip. That's enough. His eyes narrowed dangerously. How long are you planning to keep up this act? Takahashi froze, staring back in confusion. William's hand gripped his blade. We crossed paths right here not long ago. Don't pretend like I don't know what you're capable of. With a sharp shing, the blade was drawn, his aura flaring with power. William's eyes locked on Takahashi. You came to my house. What's your real goal? Takahashi stumbled back. Panic written all over his face. What? When did we ever meet? You got the wrong guy. I just want a free meal at your place, and I'm not freeloading. I'll do chores if you want. But before he could finish, a wave of blade energy charged with raw power came slicing toward him. It slammed into the ground, kicking up a storm of dust and debris. Takahashi narrowly dodged with a teleport, eyes wide in disbelief. Holy crap, he's not bluffing. He's actually trying to kill me. His terrified screams echoed through the forest. Help! Murder! This guy's nuts. Meanwhile, William calmly followed behind, blade in hand, strolling like he had all the time in the world. Watching Takahashi flail around in pure terror, William couldn't help but frown. This doesn't feel fake. He looks genuinely freaked out. So, what happened to him? Which version of him is real? Or was the one I fought before not even the real Takahashi? Suddenly, Takahashi snapped, yelling from the depths of his lungs. That's enough. You think I'm scared of you? I've never backed down from a fight in my life. William paused, slightly surprised. The next moment, Takahashi let out a wild roar and charged straight at him. William simply leaned to the side. Just enough. Takahashi whiffed completely and face-planted with a loud thud, eating a full mouthful of dirt. William looked at Takahashi with a deadpan face. Not bad. At least you didn't chicken out or teleport away just now. You're not exactly a fighter, but you'll do as backup. Takahashi finally caught on and slapped his forehead. Wait, so the whole thing was just a test? He pouted dramatically. Dude, I thought you were seriously trying to kill me. William didn't bother replying. He just frowned and muttered, Let's head back. It's time to focus on the real mission. That night, a vehicle quietly parked in the forest, about a kilometer from the fishery. Sitting atop the car, William stared toward the faint lights in the distance. His expression was grim. We're about a kilometer from a target. According to the plan, my big brother and Takahashi will go in first. Mom and Bea will stay here for backup. Takahashi's face twisted into a bitter smile. Do we have to do this? Those guys have a mess with us. Can't we just let sleeping dogs lie? William's eyes narrowed, his voice dropped. You know just as well as I do. Those people will do anything for supplies. If you're scared, now's your chance to walk away. Takahashi flailed, panicking a bit. It's not that I'm scared. I just don't want anyone getting hurt, that's all. Before he could finish, Lucas chimed in. Try to ease the tension. All right. Didn't we already agree? This mission isn't even that risky. But Takahashi still looked troubled, his face full of unease. Earlier that afternoon, after William and Takahashi returned, William laid out his plan to raid the fishery that night. His father had nearly exploded. Are you out of your mind? William calmly explained. We're not picking a fight. We're just getting there first to steal their ammo and supplies. Once they lose their stockpile, they won't dare to make a move. And even if they do, at least we'll have the firepower to defend ourselves. William Ming frowned, but the fishery's heavily guarded. How exactly do you plan on getting in? And even if you make it, how do you carry all that stuff out? William returned to Takahashi and gave a small smile. I couldn't pull this off alone, but with your teleportation, we got a real shot. Takahashi, in the middle of slurping noodles, nearly choked. Wait, me. No way. What if we run into those maniacs? William gave his shoulder a firm pat. Relax, my brother, and I will have her back. Worst case, we teleport out, but we really need you. Our whole family's counting on this. Takahashi rubbed his forehead. Defeated. Great. One impulsive moment, and now I'm the mission mule. I thought I could finally enjoy a chill life. Nearby, Bea handed a walkie-talkie to William. Use this to stay in contact. William took it, eyeing the Trilene ahead. Can we see what's happening at the fishery from here? Bea activated her power, her eyes beginning to glow faintly. I'll try. Then she turned her gaze toward the darkened outline of the fishery in the distance. A few moments later, Bea reported in. Their numbers are way down. Only one tier, 3 zombie left, and a few tier 2s. William nodded, eyes sharp. They're already moving. We need to pick up the pace. He turned to his mother, beginning, Mom, about Luna, but she cut him off without hesitation. Don't worry, I'll keep her safe. You boys just focus on your part. William gave a respectful nod, then moved on without another word. He led Lucas and Takahashi quietly toward the fishery, sticking close to the Trilene. Soon they reached the outskirts and saw it for themselves. The main gate was barely guarded. William narrowed his eyes. Their main force must have gone underground, then into the walkie-talkie. Luna, report the current zombie positions. Bea's voice came through instantly. Tier 3 still in the southeast corner. The Tier 2s have gathered near the center, and there are 2 fewer than before. William listened to Luna's report and muttered under his breath. They've started fighting the Tier 2 zombies. That means the underground area near the northwest corner should be clear for now. He handed the walkie-talkie to Lucas. Takahashi and I will scout ahead. Big bro, wait here for our signal. Then he pointed toward a distant corner of the factory. See that edge over there? About 10 meters down. Get us there. Takahashi gave a small nod, took a breath, and activated his ability. In a blink, the 2 of them vanished and reappeared at the northwest corner of the factory. As they landed from the teleport, William immediately reached over and clamped his hand over Takahashi's mouth, just as the latter was about to gasp. He held up a finger, signaling him to stay silent. William scanned the area, his voice low and calm. Good. They haven't reached this side yet. Suddenly, Takahashi gasped behind him. Wait, hold up. This isn't gunpowder. It's guns. A whole crate of them. Meanwhile, outside the fishery, Lucas kept his eyes locked on the facility, silently praying that nothing had gone wrong. Just then, the air behind him began to ripple and distort. Before he could react, William and Takahashi phased into view. William tapped the crate beneath him with a smirk. Take a wild guess what we just brought back. William Ming stepped up and flipped the lid open. His eyes lit up at the sight of rows of firearms. Guns! You brought guns. This is huge, William added. It's not just guns. There's ammo, medkits, rations, enough supplies in that warehouse to arm an entire squad. No wonder people are after it. Then he turned to Takahashi again. Let's keep going. We need to empty that warehouse before anyone else finds it. William Ming suddenly spoke up. This time, take me with you. I can help. Takahashi frowned, clearly uncertain. After a moment, he nodded. All right, I'll try. With that, he activated his ability once more. Meanwhile, inside the warehouse, the blonde man who had previously attacked William had just sliced down a zombie and was smugly wiping his blade. But behind him, a new zombie crept up silently. His eyes widened in horror as he realized too late he wasn't alone. Just as the zombie lunged, its head exploded with a loud pop. The blonde man stiffly turned his neck to look, only to realize it was Fathead who had controlled the zombie and made it self-destruct. Fathead casually shook his hand and muttered, We barely turned the power on and already attracted this many. All tier 2s too. Nearby, the old man calmly crushed a zombie skull with one strike. He said with eerie calm, Saves us the trouble of hunting them down one by one. The blonde guy scoffed. Too bad these tier 2s are barely worth our time. A tier 3 would have been more fun. Fathead grinned. Now that would be interesting. I've never tried controlling a tier 3 before. The old man shot them a flat glance. If a tier 3 really shows up, you two won't survive long enough to try. That shut them up fast. Both fell silent, faces stiff with unease. Just then, a scream tore through the air. One of their soldiers had been bitten. He writhed on the ground in agony. I've been bit. It hurts. Please, someone help me. He rolled on the floor, eyes wide with terror and panic. The blonde man crouched beside him with a mocking smirk. Come on now. What's with the screaming? Of course, we won't leave you to die. The blonde man pulled out a crystal core from his jacket and waved it in front of the soldier's face. Eat this. If you're lucky, you might become one of us. The wounded soldier stared at the crystal, torn between fear and desperation, barely clinging to his sanity. The blonde man leaned closer, voice dripping with menace. What's wrong? Scared? You'd rather turn into a zombie. Don't hesitate. Become one of the chosen. He finished speaking. Bang! A shot rang out. The bullet whizzed past his ear and struck the infected soldier dead in. A scar-faced man stepped forward, disgust clear on his face. Back off, freak. The blonde man's face darkened instantly. What did you just say to me? The scar-faced man raised his gun, pressing forward. His words sharp, deliberate. I sat back. Off, you mutated freak. The blonde man's rage snapped. His energy surged violently, eyes blazing. You think I won't kill you right here, right now? Just as tensions were about to explode, the old man spoke flatly. Enough. This alliance was sanctioned by the leadership. I won't tolerate any unnecessary conflict. The blond man gritted his teeth, rage simmering, but still withdrew his powers without protest. The old man stepped forward slowly, voice dark and calm. You know what the best part of being a teacher is? He paused, then added with venom. You get to prune the branches that grow crooked. He turned to the scar-faced man. This place reeks of sulfur. You want to explain to the higher-ups why the whole thing went up in flames. The scar-faced man clicked his tongue, clearly annoyed. TCH, switch to blades. No one fires unless I say so. Meanwhile, Jojo's team had already used the window of distraction to move out most of the supplies, staring at the neatly stacked crates. Jojo nodded in satisfaction. This should be more than enough to arm the whole family to the teeth. Joe-men gave a firm nod. Didn't expect things to go this smoothly. Jojo looked over at Takahashi, giving his shoulder a light pad. You holding up okay? Takahashi looked back at him, panting but grinning. I'm good. Just didn't think I'd be hauling half a warehouse today. Joe-min hesitated. Maybe we should rest for a bit. He doesn't look too good. But Joe, this was expression darkened. We can't. The chair. 2 zombies won't stay distracted for long. There's still some medical supplies left. One last run. Can you handle it? Takahashi took a deep breath, then gritted his teeth. Yeah, I got this. With that, he triggered his power once more, teleporting all 3 of them back to the fishery warehouse. But the moment they re-emerged from the spatial jump, Takahashi collapsed to the ground, completely unconscious. The sudden fall startled both Jojo and Joan, their guard instantly going up. Jojo rushed over quickly, checking his pulse. It's power exhaustion. He's burned through everything, completely drained. Help him over to that wall. I'll try to find some glucose to stabilize him. Meanwhile, the old man arrived at the infirmary entrance, flanked by Fathead, Slim, and several soldiers. Unbeknownst to them, Jojo and Joe-min had already dragged the unconscious Takahashi into hiding behind a nearby shelving unit. As the group stepped inside, they scanned the room filled with supplies. The blond man's eyes lit up. No wonder you risk so much to come here. This stash could keep the whole group running for months. The old man nodded. As agreed, food and medicine go to us. Scarface gave a crooked smirk. Of course, just like we discussed. The moment he finished speaking, a sonic gun fired. Boom! The old man's head exploded in a grotesque burst of blood and bone. Shock slammed across the blond man's face. He froze, eyes wide with disbelief. As he moved to react, the soldier beside him suddenly lunged, locking him down instantly. Fathead didn't even get the chance to blink. He was gunned down on the spot, dead before he hit the ground. Scarface stepped up to the blond man, sneering. Look at you! Pathetic and laughable. Did you really think we'd share any of this with you? You're just a bunch of freaks who got lucky with some abilities. You think that puts you on our level? Power gets you profit. Do you have any? The blond man said nothing. He simply lowered his gaze, silent. Then suddenly he chuckled. The eerie sound of his laughter sent a chill up Scarface's spine. What the hell are you laughing at? And then a voice, cold and venomous, echoed from right behind him. End of the world out here, and you're still talking about power structures? There's only one law now. Survival of the fittest. Scarface froze as the old man, whose head had just been blown apart, stood back up, alive and smiling darkly. With eyes wide in horror, Scarface spun around and opened fire behind him in a panic. The old man didn't even flinch as Scarface opened fire. He just stared back, emotionless. Then something impossible happened. Every bullet stopped midair, frozen inches from his body. Scarface's eyes widened in pure horror. What is that thing, Fire! Everyone open fire! He shouted, voice cracking with panic. But before his soldiers could even raise their weapons, a hail of bullets tore through them. Several dropped instantly, shot clean through. Off to the side, a soldier with glowing red eyes had taken position with a sniper rifle, methodically eliminating Scarface's entire unit. From behind the shelves, Jojo let out a cold chuckle. Classic. Let the dogs tear each other apart. Jomon glanced over. How's Takahashi holding up? Jojo checked his unconscious teammate, then sighed. Still out cold. No signs of waking up. Trapped but thinking fast, Jojo clenched his jaw. If those monsters wipe each other out, I'll finish off whoever's left. Scarface staggered backward, voice trembling as he watched the old man approach. Don't come any closer. I'm warning you. Stay back. I've got people, important people behind me. You wouldn't dare kill me. The old man gave a cold, mocking laugh. Important people? Too bad. They're probably corpses by now. Before we even arrived at the fishery, our operatives were already embedded with them. Just like you, we never had any intention of working together. One world doesn't need 2 eras. He calmly raised his hand. At the flick of a finger, a bullet suspended midair shot forward with a crack. Right into Scarface's skull, the old man didn't even blink. Your era is over. As the body dropped, he turned to one of his subordinates. Swine, clear out the stragglers outside the compound. The red-eyed soldier grumbled. Seriously, I just got into this body, still not fully synced yet. The blonde man, now casually lighting a cigarette, rolled his eyes. Oh, please. You say that every time. At this point, changing bodies is like changing shirts for you. Swine grumbled, knowing there was no getting out of it. Yeah, I'm going, he muttered, dragging his feet as he exited the compound. As he left, the blonde man glanced around the room packed with crates. So what now? Just the two of us. It'll take forever to move all this stuff. The old man paused in silence, then slowly turned his gaze toward a shelf in the corner and muttered, No rush. Before we move anything, let's clear out the rats behind the shelves. Jojo's heart clenched. They know, the old man continued, voice calm but cutting. The soil outside is damp. It clings to the soles of shoes, and young men, they tend to be sloppy, a habit that needs correcting. So, will you come out on your own, or shall we drag you out? Jojo exchanged a look with Zoming. They've been discovered. No question. Without hesitation, Jojo was stepped out from cover, energy pulsing from his body. Looks like talking's over. Let's finish this. Jojo was stepped out from behind the shelves. Blade gripped tightly in hand. In an instant, he dashed straight toward the blonde man, a blur of movement. The blonde man recognized him and scoffed. You again came here to die properly this time. Calmly, he pulled out a handful of marbles, charging them with his ability. With a flick of his wrist, he launched them at Jojo. The marbles ripped through the air like bullets, closing in fast. Too fast. Jojo's eyes narrowed, reacting instantly. He brought up his blade. Clang, deflecting the deadly shot just in time. The blonde man sneered. Really? You think you can dodge in a space this tight? Jojo didn't answer. He just grinned. Hook, line, and sinker. Before the blonde man could realize it, a shadow swept in from the side. Joing had circled around behind him. With his fist drawn back, glowing with power, he threw a devastating punch straight at the back of the blonde man's head. The blow landed clean. Before he could react, the blonde man collapsed like a sack of bricks, taken out instantly. Just as Joing began to let out a breath of relief, Jojo spoke sharply beside him. Don't relax. There's still one left, and he's the real threat. Jojo's eyes glowed with a faint blue light as he locked onto the old man. Instantly, data streamed across his vision, frowny face name. Yao Shanghai, age 61, ability supercells tier 2. Next upgrade requires 3x tier 3 zombie cores. Advancement to tier 5 chance, 24% raw core requirement. The blonde man lay motionless on the ground, defeated. But the old man Yao and Hui simply stared at them, calm as ever. That eerie calm made Jojo's skin crawl. He clenched his jaw. We strike first. Without a word, he and Joing moved in unison, rushing from opposite sides to flank the old man. Jojo's blade slashed cleanly across Yao's neck, but it didn't even leave a mark. The old man stood completely still. Jojo's eyes widened in shock. What the hell? His skin's tougher than steel. But Jojo didn't hesitate. Bro, sync strike. Joing's eyes sharpened. He understood instantly. Without pause, he gathered all of his energy into a single punch and then launched it straight at the old man. No holding back. Their attacks converged. Jojo's blade strike and Joing's energy blast hit the old man at the exact same moment, forming a cross-impact shockwave. Jojo had guessed the old man was immune to external damage, so they tried using pure energy resonance to cause internal disruption. But as the shockwave faded, Jojo froze, eyes wide with disbelief. The old man still stood tall, shirtless, and utterly unharmed, as if nothing had happened. Worse yet, the energy they unleashed had begun to seep into his body, absorbed like steam into dry ground. Seconds later, a familiar surge burst from his core. The same power signature as Joing. He had copied the ability. Jojo's eyes widened as he whispered in shock. Blood pigod. The old man took a deep breath, eyes closed, basking in the flow of absorbed power. Excellent. Your abilities are top tier. Especially you, Shaggy Boy. Multiple abilities, am I right? His gaze narrowed as he turned to Jojo and Joing. You too. You're qualified to join us. Joing blinked, still stunned. Join you. The old man turned away, casually gesturing toward the crates of supplies. You came for these, didn't you? Join us, and you'll have more than you'll ever need. Jojo was scoffed. You just betrayed your own people, and you think we'd trust a word from you. The old man waved vaguely at the corpses on the floor. They were remnants of the old world, he said, tone calm and cold. We're not like them. We, the gifted, we were born to rule the new one. Jojo fell silent for a moment, then asked coldly, Gifted ones ruling the world. Fine, but what about the ordinary people? The old man smiled slightly, his tone calm. They'll live under our protection. They'll be the foundation of the new world. Jojo snorted. Foundation? You mean slaves? He knew damn well people like this didn't protect the weak. They used them. They burned them as fuel for their so-called new world. As he spoke, Jojo was subtly gestured behind his back, drawing the old man's attention while signaling Lucas. Lucas caught the motion, nodded ever so slightly, and turned his gaze toward the still unconscious Takahashi. The old man's face darkened, anger flashing. I've even seen the new world. Jojo gave a quiet laugh. I don't need to. The fact that it's built by scum like you, that alone tells me it already stinks to high heaven. William, time to move? Lucas's voice rang out that he bolted toward the warehouse exit, carrying the unconscious Takahashi over his shoulder. The old man whipped around, eyes narrowing as he sensed the escape. In that same instant, William dashed past him, slicing through the narrow gap like a shadow. As he passed, his voice echoed coldly in the old man's ear. I'm going to find every last one of you and drag your new world straight to hell. The old man stood stunned, caught off guard by William's ruthless decisiveness. But before he could react further, he noticed a lit lighter tumble to the ground near his feet. Boom! A massive explosion ripped through the warehouse, sending flames and debris flying skyward. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Bea was frantically calling into her walkie-talkie. William, Lucas, Takahashi, anyone come in? But only static answered her. The channel remained deathly silent. William's mother looked on, worry etched across her face. Still nothing. Bea nodded, eyes locked on the rising smoke in the distance. There was an explosion underground. Something blew in the basement. I can't see what's going on from here. But before she could finish, her expression changed. Deep within the ruins of the warehouse, the Tier 3 zombie that had been dormant until now slowly opened its eyes. Beneath the charred wreckage, William and Lucas crawled out, coughing but alive. Lucas saw William was only covered in dust, otherwise unharmed, and exhaled deeply. You're okay. But then he froze. Where's Takahashi? William pointed casually. Over there, still snoring. Sure enough, Takahashi lay amidst the rubble, fast asleep, breathing steadily like it was just another nap. Lucas stared at him, speechless. Unbelievable. Explosion rocked the building, and he didn't even flinch. Then his eyes shifted back to the smoldering wreckage. Damn, all those supplies gone. William brushed dust from his sleeves, muttering, better we burn it than let them have it. Lucas glanced over at him, hesitating. William, you seem to know a lot about those ability users. William didn't answer directly. He allowed a dry laugh. Just another bunch of arrogant trash. Like Jack, the kind this world's better off without. He walked over to Takahashi and gave him a light pat on the leg. Come on, let's head back. Lucas knew William was hiding something, but if she didn't want to talk about it, he wouldn't push. Just as Lucas was about to move, something beneath his feet shifted. A faint rumble. Boom! The rubble beneath them exploded outward, shrapnel flying in all directions. Lucas reacted in a flash, diving to the side, narrowly dodging the blast. He crouched low, eyes sharp, staring toward the center of the blast zone, fully alert, ready for anything. As the smoke cleared, a figure emerged from the blast zone. The old man thought to be dead, still standing. Not only was he uninjured, but his previously frail frame now pulsed with power, muscles tightened, eyes burning with unnatural energy. He looked reborn. Meanwhile, back in the forest, Bea continued calling into the walkie-talkie, her voice tense. William, can you hear me? There's a tear. 3 zombie down there. It just woke up, but still no reply. William's mother offered a calm voice beside her. Take it easy. If they went underground, maybe the signal's just cut off. Besides, with Takahashi around, they'll be fine. He's got them covered. Bea nodded, but the memory of that explosion still gnawed at her chest. William's mother smiled warmly. Didn't expect my son to have someone this worried about him. Makes me feel like the outsider now. Bea's face flushed instantly. No, Auntie. It's not like that. But William's mom was already walking off toward the trunk of the vehicle. Back in the day, William's dad used to mess with explosives at the mines, and I'd be a wreck every time he went underground. Scared he'd blow himself up. But worry alone doesn't help. And sometimes men just can't be relied on. When it matters most, it's up to us women to step up. At top the wrecked fishery warehouse, William braced himself against the onslaught from the mutated old man. He had no choice but to stay on the defensive, blocking blow after blow. But this relentless pressure was draining both him and Lucas fast, their stamina fraying, breath growing uneven. Seeing that the explosion hadn't just failed to kill the old man, but made him stronger, Lucas's face tightened with dread. Beside him, William muttered under his breath. So, this is what supercells really mean? The old man raised a brow, mildly impressed. I'm surprised you actually figured it out. He grinned, voice laced with pride. My cells possess a built-in defense system. When threatened, they evolve, adapting to the nature and level of danger. But at Tier 2, my cells don't just resist threats, they absorb them and turn them into my strength like this. As he spoke, a network of crimson runes like living blood sigils began glowing across his left arm. And then he launched forward a blur of raw power, charging directly at William and Lucas. The two barely had time to react. The sheer pressure bearing down on them made their pupils contract violently. William and Lucas channeled every ounce of their energy, boosting their speed to the limit. Each diving in opposite directions to dodge the incoming strike, just barely avoiding the old man's devastating blow. They countered instantly. Together, they surged forward, combining their power for a full-force attack aimed at the old man's back. Their strikes landed hard, but did absolutely nothing. The old man didn't flinch. In the next instant, a ripple of red energy surged from his body. The damage had been absorbed and converted, and now it was coming back. Lucas took the full blast. He was sent flying like a ragged doll, crashing hard to the ground, and didn't move again. William glanced over, heart pounding. But he knew if this thing wasn't stopped now, everyone would die here. Gritting his teeth, he roared and unleashed both of his abilities at once. Twin energies fused into a single devastating strike, forming a burning black and white energy fist that screamed toward the old man's chest. But the old man didn't move. He raised one arm completely unfazed and braced for the impact. William's punch hit squarely, but it was like punching smoke. No recoil, no damage, no effect. The old man sneered, voice cold and venomous. I told you, the stronger the threat, the stronger my cells become, as long as they remain active. I cannot. Meanwhile, at the entrance to the fishery, William's mother and Luna finally arrived at the scene. C's eyes narrowed as she spotted bodies strewn near the gate. These? Did William do this? William's mother crouched beside one of the corpses, her face darkening. No, these were killed by gunfire. Just then, a burst of gunfire echoed from deeper inside the compound, and a soldier dropped right in front of them, shot clean through the skull. Blood sprayed across the gravel. William's mother reacted instantly, grabbing Luna and ducking them behind a nearby stack of crates. Footsteps approached. A man in blood-splattered military gear appeared, wiping his sleeve with distaste. Filthy! As he walked toward them, he casually counted the bodies out loud. 1, 2. These ones are just in the way. After a final look around, the infiltrator calmly raised his pistol again. Bang! He fired another round right into the already dead body near William's mother and Luna, watching from behind the wall. Both women tensed. Something was very, very wrong. The fake soldier let out a twisted smile. Looks like we got 2 extras. Come on out, ladies. Drop whatever you're his instincts kicking in. He whipped around, gun ready. But in that split second, William's mom moved. She closed the distance and smacked the pistol from his hands with swift precision. The man blinked in surprise, then smiled. Well, feisty. Now I'm really excited. Let's have a little fun, shall we? William's mother said nothing, but in her eyes, she knew this wouldn't be won with words. Meanwhile, atop the fishery ruins, William was being held in the air, strangled in the grip of the old man. The old man's tone was flat. You're different. You saw through my ability. You wield 2 powers at once, and you've seen the new world, haven't you? Tell me your secrets. William didn't answer. His eyes scanned his surroundings, searching for a way out. Then he felt it. A chill in the air, familiar, rising. The cold crept in, brushing his skin like frost, and his heart leapt a tear. William let out a low, deliberate chuckle. The old man narrowed his eyes. What are you laughing at? William broke in a laughter, bloodied but defiant. I'm laughing at your arrogance, your delusion. You think you're the chosen ones meant to rule the new world? You treat normal people like slaves. You hunt zombies like prey, but in the end, it'll be your kind buried beneath the feet of the very ones you look down on. The old man's face darkened, his fury barely contained. Veins bulged across his arm as he squeezed William's throat harder. Then, with a roar, he lifted William and slammed him into the rubble below. William coughed violently, a jet of blood spraying from his lips. Nonsense! The old man spat, his eyes blazing. You think that will shake me? William lay crumpled in the debris, blood dripping from his mouth, still grinning. If there's a god, he rasped. You lot were the first he abandoned. The old man roared, voice cracking with fury. He raised both fists overhead, energy crackling between them and brought them crashing down to boom. The ground exploded beneath them in a violent shockwave of force. Just as the old man's crushing blow was about to land, William vanished in a blur of smoke. Reappearing at a distance, he stood tall, grinning with a wicked glint in his eyes. The dust cleared. The old man's eyes widened. He realized William had escaped at the very last instant. He was just about to give chase, when suddenly his gaze locked on his own hand. The cells in his palm had stopped responding. No activity, no regeneration, dead. And then from behind him, rising from the rubble, a pale hand reached out, accompanied by a chilling whisper. I'm cold. The old man spun around, but it was too late. That corpse-like hand clamped around his leg, and where it touched, his flesh darkened, his skin frosted over, and his cellular power died instantly. The old man finally pieced it together. His eyes blazed with fury. You lure that thing here, William smirked unfazed. Well, I can't be you myself, so I brought a friend. Just then, a zombie cloaked in icy mist pulled itself from the rubble, frost rolling off its rotting skin. The old man's burning hot energy caught its attention instantly. He'd become the target. The creature advanced step by step. The cold clawed at his flesh, and for the first time, his cells recoiled. He instinctively took a step back. William seized the moment, slinging Lucas over his shoulder and calling out for Takahashi as he made for the exit. But just as they reached the edge of the blast zone, boom! The explosion rocked the air. William turned on instinct, eyes wide, his heart dropped. The ice zombies shattered, reduced to frozen shards, destroyed. Outside the fishery warehouse, William's mom fought with ruthless precision, pressing the soldier back with every strike. Then, in a fluid motion, she spotted an opening and snapped a kick across his chest, sending him flying. Bea, watching from the sidelines, could hardly believe her eyes. This is William's mother. The soldier staggered up, snarling in disbelief. No way. I'm a trained combat instructor, and I got beat by some woman. William's mom dusted her hands off, smirking. Instructor, please. You're barely good enough to be a punching bag. The insult struck deep. You? He roared. I'm going to kill you. He reached for his gun. Luna, iron rod. She barked without missing a beat. Luna didn't hesitate, tossed the weapon straight at her. The soldier barely raised the gun when flack. The iron rod slammed into his skull with a sickening crack. He collapsed forward, disoriented, helpless. William's mom stepped over, grabbed the rod again, and drove it straight into the back of his head. You want to challenge me? She muttered. Check your stats first, rookie. But the moment those words left her mouth, William's mother suddenly trembled. Her body jerked as if something inside had taken hold. Back-facing Bea, she muttered, voice strange and hollow. Luna, lead the way. Luna hesitated. Something fell off, but she nodded, stepping forward. Suddenly, William's mom whipped around, her eyes glowing red, her smile twisted, and from her throat came a low, guttural laugh. With terrifying speed, she raised her hand, fingers sharpened into a deadly blade, and lunged at Bea. Just as the strike was about to land, it stopped. Frozen midair, an inch from Luna's face. Bea stared at the trembling hand, frozen in place, paralyzed with fear. William's mother's face contorted in agony, her body shaking violently. She was fighting something inside. Through clenched teeth, she hissed, You little bastard. Get the hell out of my body. Just then, a voice echoed from within William's mother. What? No. Your consciousness should have been erased. William's mother clutched her forehead, steadying herself, then snarled. You smelled just like the rest of those rotting corpses. Disgusting. In the next breath, a wave of pure radiant energy exploded outward from her chest. Her purification ability had awakened. The invading spirit screeched. What is this? It burns. It hurts. Stop. Stop. The voice faded to nothing, snuffed out, and William's mother regained full control of her body. Meanwhile, across the ruined battlefield, William stood, battered and breathing hard, his eyes locked on the old man. There'd be no clean escape now. The old man sneered. You drew that monster here. Don't think you'll walk away. William glanced sideways. The Tier 3 zombie was rising again. Cold mist swirling around its cracked limbs. He clicked his tongue, muttering, Great. This is going to suck. The old man lifted his arms and roared. You're all going to die right here. Just as the old man began his final attack, a pale hand punched straight through his chest from behind. His eyes widened, then dulled. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. The zombie's icy aura spread like a plague, freezing the wound instantly. Within seconds, the old man's entire body turned to frost, then shattered like brittle glass. A chilling voice whispered from behind his remains. Not cold enough, so cold. I need heat. William narrowed his eyes, jaw tight. This thing, it was beyond anything he'd faced. Without hesitation, he surged forward, blade raised. The zombie moved sluggishly, its body weighed down by layers of frost. William slashed straight across its neck. But the next second, his blade barely touched it before his own hand erupted in ice. Frozen solid. The chill crept up his arm, locking his joints. His fingers stiffened. He couldn't even lift his sword. William clenched his jaw. A dark premonition gnawed at his gut. Something worse was coming. The zombie roared, clutching its slashed neck, and boom, a blast of frost burst from its palm. In seconds, shimmering ice sealed the wound, stopping the bleeding cold. Its knees bent, arms spread wide, and it launched, diving straight for William, like a missile of ice. Suddenly, crack! A stone struck its head, halting it midair. A blinding pillar of evolved energy crashed down from the sky, slamming the creature into the ground with explosive force. Boom! The impact cratered the earth, sending shards of frost in every direction. William stood stunned until he heard the voice. Need a hand, son? He froze, slowly turned. There they were, his mom and Bea, standing shoulder to shoulder behind him. The two approached quickly. Bea saw the frostbite on his arm and gasped. Your hand! Are you okay? William exhaled, voice low. I'll live. My brother's in worse shape. William's mother glanced down at Lucas, unconscious, battered. Her voice dropped, quiet and deadly. That thing, was it the one who hurt him? William nodded. Yeah. Rage flooded her expression. The temperature dropped. Her killing intent spiked. He dared lay a hand on my son. She growled. Die. In a flash, she vanished from view, reappearing right in front of the tear. 3 zombie. Energy surged in her palm. Radiant white hot. She struck downward, aiming straight for the creature's skull. The sheer force of the blow gouged deep trenches across the frozen ground. Each step marked by power. Though temporarily encased in ice, the zombie's own cryo abilities surged. The ice sphere cracked, then shattered. The monster burst free, completely unfazed. But William was already behind it, his blade glowing with charged energy. With one fierce motion, he drove the blade deep into the creature's back. The energy surged outward, pulsing through the zombie's body. Boom! A thunderous blast erupted from inside the monster. Its entire upper torso exploded, ripped apart in a rain of gore and shattered bone. William stood still for a moment, watching the broken remains. He finally let out a breath. It's over. His mother approached, giving a slight nod. Didn't expect it to last that long. She glanced toward the horizon. Come on, let's grab your brother and regroup with the others. Just as the group began to let down their guard, Bea's voice rang out in alarm. Watch out! It's not dead yet. A massive wall of ice erupted behind William and his mother. Frost exploding outward. The tear. 3 zombies' mangled upper body clung to the ice, eyes burning, one hand lunging forward. William's mother reacted instantly, condensing her purifying energy and lashing out. But this time, the creature blocked her attack, effortlessly, its strength unbroken. William leapt into action, slashing at the ice wall with his glowing blade. Clang. His sword only left a faint scratch, barely a dent. Landing heavily, William's heart sank. At this rate, I can't hurt it. I need something stronger. Then his eyes caught a glint nearby. A wooden box top blown open. Inside a crystal core, glowing with violent energy. It must have belonged to the old man, his last weapon. Facing off with the Tier 3 zombie, William's mother could feel its strength intensifying by the second. She shouted behind her voice sharp and unwavering. William, Luna, get everyone out of here! I'll hold it off. See how Luna's heart clenched. She knew staying meant certain death for William's mom. But her own ability only enhanced firearms. And against this monster, a pistol was useless. She bit her lip, turned, and ran. Headed straight for Lucas's unconscious form, determined not to be a burden. William's mom quickly glanced around, but she couldn't see William anywhere. That moment's distraction. Crack! A massive chunk of ice hurtled toward her from afar and slammed in her gut. Her body flew back, colliding with a stone wall, which splintered from the force. She gasped, then coughed up a mouthful of blood, slumping down, her strength fading fast. Just as the Tier 3 zombie lunged forward again, a single hand calmly pressed against its forehead. William's cold voice followed, steady as steel. Man, why do you all insist on being the last to fall? Then he chuckled. Guess that's just how we are in this family. I've gotten used to it. His mother, gravely wounded, barely managed to lift her eyes and saw his silhouette, standing tall between her and death. William grinned, power rising from within, ability unlocked. Blood Bastion fully evolved with a flick of his palm. The zombie was blasted back like a ragged doll, sent flying dozens of meters. But even so, physical force alone still wasn't enough to destroy it. He didn't flinch. He simply raised his blade and swung it through the air. A searing torrent of crimson energy rained from the heavens, and in seconds, the monstrous corpse was gone. Not fallen, erased. William lowered his weapon, turned back toward the others, and whispered, Let's go. We're going home. See you next time, my dear mages.